All right, guys. How we doing tonight? Cheers,
And
cheers, cheers.
cheers. Cheers, G.
Look at
Cheers,
my
Dr.
auntie.
Eric.
Cheers, cheers.
There we go. Oh, I love the mason jar.
That's right.
Those are my favorite. I got 1,000,001 of those in my home.
Awesome.
All right,
Great
let's
meal
hang
prep
on.
drinks.
All kinds of stuff.
All right, so guys, we are here live tonight on an episode of Real Family Ish, okay, the PG version, okay. Now, you know all what ish means. So, with that being said, tonight we have a very, very special guest. We're going through hormones, health, and a whole bunch of other things. I'm going to be touching base on postpartum and what I went through and how the misconception of postpartum. But while we have him here, Dr. Eric is in the house and he is a hormone specialist. Is that the correct terminology for your title?
Yes, that's totally fine. Perfect.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to let him take a second and introduce himself and tell us what you're about and tell everyone your name, what you do, and how amazing you are.
Well, hey, everybody, thanks for jumping in. Yeah, absolutely. I met Mike some time ago. We've been collaborating on some things, doing some shows, and he does an awesome job, always enthusiastic and excellent at what he does. So I appreciate being on here. So I'm a board certified physician, and I've been practicing for quite a long time now. And my specialty is health and performance optimization. So, and specifically from a cellular medicine perspective, not to get, basically what I do is I make you better, make my men and women come to me because they're tired, they're losing sex drive, they're gaining fat, losing muscle, they want to feel better, sleep better, length better, work out better, etc. So I started off doing hormone optimization where I treated men and women with hormonal issues, whether it's insulin or cortisol, testosterone, estrogen, etc. I slowly got into other things too, in terms of peptide therapies, regenerative therapies, things like, what you read about now, you hear things like NAD and mitochondrial health and all this kind of stuff. So now it's treating the body at the cellular level. Our bodies are made out of billions of cells, and you got to get each one of those cells like a little factory making energy. That's what runs your, kind of like, you got to put the right fuel in the car. You got to rest it, do your maintenance. Same with your cells, same with your body. You got to treat it right. So I treat the body from a holistic perspective. So you got to look at sleep. You got to look at exercise, diet, hormones, supplements, and all these other things, all the cool little stuff, these little hacks and biohacking things you hear about are great, but if the foundation isn't set, it's not going to work, and you're going to waste a lot of money a lot of times. So that's what I do. I make men and women perform, act, feel, and look better.
Okay. So wait, tell me, I heard you mention sleep. I heard you mention working out better. So you're telling me that all could be related to hormones, and if you change what you're doing or somehow get your hormones checked out, that can change all that?
Definitely.
Really?
So my favorite analogy is the gears of a car, right? I don't know if there's a lot of car fanatics, but if you've got gears, right, all the gears have to connect for the wheels to turn. So, you've got your nutrition, you got fitness, you got supplementation, you got hormones. Those are the big five. There's others too, but if they're all jiving, the wheels fit and the gears turn, the engine turns. But if one of those gears is missing, then there's something. Most commonly, something with the metabolism or the hormones that are off. Now, obviously, a lot of people have other issues too. They're not sleeping, they're working 100 hours a week or night shifts, or they're eating like crap. And a lot of times, all the above. I have to fix everything. So, it's all important.
Okay. So Mike, what questions do you have and what do you want to touch base on?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things I want to highlight, because I think this might be a misconception when it comes to the hormonal side of things, and maybe it's just my experience as an athlete, and Dr. you can speak to this because I know we've talked about your athletic background as well. We don't have to dig into that too much right now, but more so of like, oh, well, if I start taking, you name the hormone or implementing that, like it's going to fix everything else, that I don't have to worry about sleep. I don't have to worry about, what I'm putting into my body. So I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on almost, and we don't have to list it as sense of a priority, but speak to this kind of maybe misconception or myth that the hormone dynamic is going to fix everything else. And maybe I also could be completely off, that maybe that by itself will address everything, but I'm curious your thoughts on the relationship of, hey, can I just start to, change my hormone level, start to look at that from blood work and then implementing it with whatever we're using, and then everything else is going to magically be fixed or just be shifted? Or do we then have to, still work on sleep, my sleep routine, getting exercise in, things like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I tell everybody, yeah, the lifestyle factors are foundational. Yeah, you can't sit on the couch and eat McDonald's and not do anything and say inject a hormone in your body and you're going to be jacked and want to, be on your A game. It's just not going to happen. Now in a jumpstart things and kind of accelerate a little bit and get you off your butt and get you motivated. Yeah, absolutely. And I've used it for that purpose, but
really
do the other stuff first, right? You gotta eat right. You gotta sleep. You gotta exercise. But otherwise it's just not going to work. It may work a little bit, but it's 1 + 1 = 3. You got to do all three. You got to get the foundation. And I address all of them at the same time. It's not like kind of like you people that want to die. You're like, oh, you're overweight because I can't exercise because I'm overweight. Well, you got to exercise to lose weight. It's a vicious circle, right? You got to do something. So if a guy's sitting around or a young lady come in and she's just tired and fatigued because her thyroid's in the dumper, yeah, you can tell her to sleep and eat right, but she's still going to feel like crap. So I'm going to fix her thyroid at the same time that I'm addressing her sleep and her exercise. So sometimes you have to do them all together. But for optimal results, yeah, you have to do those lifestyle factors too. You can't just sit around and take a magic pill. It just doesn't work that way.
But if I want to jumpstart, right? So now I'm imagining myself here, all right?
Yeah.
Now Michael already knows where I'm about to go with this, okay? I've been trying to work out. I've been eating decent, okay? I am tired like an mother effer, okay? I asked my husband, I'm tired of you complaining. You're always tired. What do you do all day? You're tired. What are you tired from? I don't know. And like I got my thyroid checked out. They told me I was fine. My pituitary gland, I know that doesn't work. I know that's been in the shitter since like I don't produce growth hormone. I know that I don't think that affects anything. But I didn't know that, like, from what you're telling me, like if I want to jumpstart this, tell me what I gotta take, what I gotta do. This baby weight gotta come off. I even told Mike the other day, I feel like my body needs a reset. I feel like it's feeling like garbage lately, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah, and you're how old, Gina?
I'm 31, right? Yeah, I'm 31.
You're 31, yeah.
I was like, my 32 or 31.
We have the same.
Remember your name.
You know how old she is. Yeah, right.
Well, we're exactly 3 years apart, so we had the same birthday.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things, and post-pregnancy, there can be a lot of hormonal changes, of course, that can occur, and some bounce back quick, and some don't. A lot of women, have problems with, postpartum depression or weight gain, or sometimes, and usually it recovers on its own, but a lot of times it doesn't, and it needs some help. But thyroid issues are common. Adrenal gland issues are common. You mentioned your pituitary. That's like the master regulator. If that's off, then everything's going to be off. So we'd have to fix that. Yeah. If you're,
I see a neurologist, and I went to him because I actually was told that I had a small benign tumor, like literally pea size on my pituitary gland. But they said it had nothing related to the stop production of my growth hormone, because I stopped growing at a certain age. I didn't produce any more growth hormone. I was supposed to take shots. I didn't do it because I hated needles as a kid. My mom ran around.
Gina's 4'11" for reference. Just as like
for reference, I'm under 5 foot. But I purposely went to a neurologist to check this all out, and I think he did a panel on me, and he said everything seemed to be normal. That's the exact words I got. So I don't know, but all I know is, especially after I cannot lose weight. Now, granted, I haven't been as active as I probably should be, but I have done the, eating healthy. Unless I'm doing some extreme diet where I'm only drinking shakes all day long, do I see any weight drop? And I don't know. And I feel like a lot of moms go through this. Like my daughter's 18 months, so I'm 18 months postpartum. And I just want to lose some weight.
Well, send me your lab work too, because a lot of times what I come across is a lot of people will come to me and, oh, everything's normal. Well, normal is not the same as optimal. It could be better.
Wow. Wait, repeat that one more time so everyone could hear that.
Yeah, and normal is not optimal. There's a difference, right? So I tell everybody, think of it as like when you're back in school, right? You could pass a class with an A. You could pass a class with a D-, right? Mm-hmm. You want to be a D- student or an A student? I want to be an A student, so, I
want
see
A++.
Yeah. So like your thyroid's in the dumper, or say guys, I see this all the time. Their testosterone. Doctor, I went and they said it was normal. Well, normal goes from, like, for example, 300 to 1,000. You could be 301 and you're normal, but you feel like shit because you're not optimal. So, we could fix that.
Wow. You don't understand. Like, it makes 100% sense. And I'm anemic on top of that. I'm like thalassemia anemia. So So I'm really anemic. Like, I've heard that my entire life, but I actually was supposed to get surgery in August. They wouldn't let me get the surgery because my levels were so low. Wow. So they turned me away. they're like, we're not touching you. Or they're basically like, we're not touching you because you could die. I'm like, oh, great to know. I also hemorrhaged during birth too. Like they told I was bleeding out because of my anemia. They said it was because of my anemia. And if I wanted more children, I would have to have a C-section. That's all I know.
See, so you're a classic example of what we were just talking about. You probably need something adjusted or at least looked at with your hormonal status, in addition to the diet and sleeping and exercise and stuff. You need all at the same time.
Oh my God, I'm so glad.
See, that's so. So one thing I want to work in really quick, because I think it's a great opportunity. So Gina's in New York, you're in Ohio, doctor, and I think sometimes there might be a misconception that, well, you're in Ohio, what am I going to do? But I think that's the beautiful thing with technology now and telehealth and some opportunities there. So I just want to like kind of work this in as a moment to speak to that, like how you can work with people throughout the country, especially like Gina's in New York, right? So like, how could that look? And you maybe mentioned like with blood work, that could be, I'm curious, like how can people basically get to work with you if they may not be right around the corner or something like that?
Yeah, like you said, the new technology has enabled that. So I do it all the time. I've got patients literally all over the country. So the cool thing is, yeah, I can send you a form. I have an account with a specific lab. I email you a form, you take it to the lab, get your lab work. I log into the portal. I have it instantly. We do what we're doing now, a Zoom call. I can look at you. I spend an hour on the phone with you. We'll go through all your lab work, go through all your symptoms, and I can come up with a plan and institute, and I can order medications, peptides, hormones, with the pharmacies I work with. They ship all over the country. So I can do everything virtually. I mean, I can't push on your belly or listen to your lungs or anything like that. But
I'm pretty sure that's not going to determine what you're doing for me. But let me ask, the number one question is, like, if you feel comfortable embellishing on this, do you take insurance? How much does it cost normally per session? Like, how does that work? Is that your type of doctor that it's able to take insurance, or?
Yeah, I don't do any insurance stuff at all. Unfortunately,
so it's out of pocket.
They won't cover it.
Really?
Yeah, it's because it's preventive care. And
what?
Yeah,
which is crazy if we just think about that. But also, insurance is a headache. Well, insurance is a headache too, right, Dr. Eric?
I'm sure for your end, yes, I understand that.
There's a lot of stuff I probably could bill insurance, but it's not worth the hassle. So me and a lot of my colleagues, we just run it as a cash practice because it's so much simpler. It's kind of like the old days when you went to your doctor, you got a diagnosis, you paid your doc, and then he gave you whatever you needed. Just one-on-one, no insurance, no paperwork, no BS, no red tape. It's so much simpler and cleaner.
But you know what's crazy to me is that I look at it as like, as a woman postpartum, we got stay-at-home mom. Hi,
Rosalinda. And then, Jeanette. Hey. We also had Juliet on YouTube was saying, hey today or whatever. Hey, people sending some love, Dr. Eric. I just wanted you to know that.
Yes, I remember that song, Rosalinda. How are you? But what I was going to say is that, like, once I had my baby, right, and I saw what really went into what I would consider caring for someone postpartum, whether it's mentally, physically, and even what you're telling me, hormonally, all the stuff to get you running at let's say optimum. I'm not even going to say normal. Let's say optimum. There are not many outlets for that, as far as like even like women who can't lose weight. After, say, I try with you, I still can't lose the weight. That's great. I can't even get weight loss surgery. It would have to come out of pocket because I produce a life. I produce a child, but I have to pay out of pocket because I might be a little overweight, and so other people get it for free because they sat on their couch and played video games that stuffed their face and became 600 pounds.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad.
That is insane to me. You know what I mean? And I get it. It's to help them, and I'm glad they're able to get the help they need. I'm glad that they can lose the weight. Don't get me wrong. Mike's know how I'm laughing. And we have someone who had the surgery. Anyway, but at first I was looking into getting something. Like I talked to doctors. They're like, oh, you don't qualify. You're considered overweight, but you don't qualify because it's not affecting you the same way it's affecting them. I'm like, but I had a child.
Yeah.
I procreated. You can't help me out. Come on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You got to be obese and weigh even more and be even unhealthier. So that's the current model we're in. It's the sick care medicine model that we're in. It's like you have to be very sick and broken, and we could do a surgery, give you a prescription. But prior to that,
you'd rather give me prescriptions for an opioid, a Xanax, or something else to shut me up in the meanwhile, instead of maybe helping me something that helps me in the long term. I'm not trying to sound vain, but like if making me look good makes me feel better as a postpartum depression or anxiety, why wouldn't you maybe like consider it? Go see a therapist.
And that's why I do what I do, because it's the healthcare. So let's the preventive health. Let's keep you healthy and keep you from getting these diseases, so you don't need surgery and all these prescription drugs down the road. Let's keep you optimal and healthy and young and vibrant, so you don't have to get hip surgery and be put on Xanax for the rest of your life and sit on the couch watching Netflix. That's not what we want. That's not health.
And how can I perform as a mother with that? Like
Exactly.
I'm not. Let's be clear. I'm not saying anything wrong as far as like people who do take medication. There's nothing wrong with it. If you find it helps you, that is great. I see Jeanette in the chat. How are you? I had extreme postpartum with all 4 of my kids. Now, what do you mean you had postpartum? Because there's postpartum anxiety, there's postpartum depression, postpartum rage. Everyone assumes postpartum means depression. There's postpartum hair loss. I had postpartum hair loss. I had the rage. And when I tell you I raged, ask my mother. I'm sure she hated me because we lived with her right after we had the baby for a little bit.
Your poor husband.
And my husband too. Actually, I didn't really take it out on. It was more my parents for some reason. But they could say the sky is blue, and I would freak out and yell at them. Like, is that a hormone thing?
Yeah, usually. Yeah, that and stress for sure.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Did that ever go away?
Yeah.
Does it go away? I mean, I've gotten better. Don't get me wrong, but does it go away? Okay.
Now, here's one thing I want to throw in there, guys. So just a heads up, Dr. Eric is he's not joining us for the full episode. He's going to be hanging out. Not that it means we don't want him here for the full episode, but Dr. Eric's got full days of working with patients, running business. He's got a family, and I know you normally, and this is a great example, and I want to take this as an opportunity to talk about sleep routine and sleep hygiene. Like, you're like obviously giving us some time, but also very mindful of your sleep schedule as well. So I wanted to just highlight that, because we're probably going to have you heading out here in a little bit. Not that you have to go anywhere, Dr. Eric, but I want to make sure that we also are mindful and respectful of your time. So I want to do two things. One, we're starting to get some people in the chat now. So if you guys want to drop questions, even though Dr. Eric's not going to be here for the whole thing, I mentioned that we're going to have him on. And then if we have him on again in the future, we could bring some of those questions back. Also, you can follow him on Instagram and check him out online. He's on YouTube. He's on Instagram. He's on Facebook. I have his Instagram link in both chats, so you guys can go check him out there, and feel free to reach out. And then, again, you always have an open invite, Dr. Eric, to come back. And we're thinking about opening up like a segment, like the Doctor's Corner, something we've played with in the past as well. So we'll talk about that off the air as well. But I just want to throw that out there, and not that you have to leave right now, but also give you that time window. Because again, me and Gina like talking a lot. I don't know if you can tell. So we'll hold you up. So I also want to let you have that window to be able to make sure you also take care of yourself and your sleep and your routine.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate the courtesy. Yep.
We also have Jeanette saying, just really quickly, experienced drastic weight gain after I'm assuming birth she's talking about. I've done weight loss programs while they worked. It's about changing all your habits. So I guess she was relating to what you said about changing the habits. My husband and I struggled severely, ended up going to couples counseling to save our marriage. Okay, well I'm glad you did that.
Therapy is always a great thing. I will just say that. Therapy is a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. Yep, absolutely. It's a time of change mentally, physically, emotionally, and you're in it with 2, 3, 4 people now. And so there's a lot to deal with. That's for sure.
I only share because you're not alone in what you're saying, Gina. And I appreciate that. And I was telling Mike, I was crying on live before. Like our first live stream this morning, someone told me, like, you're doing it. Like, because I said I actually meal prepped on Sunday. And someone in the chat's like, no, don't say you're trying, you're doing. And I don't know if my hormones were through the roof or what. I started crying. And I was like, thank you for someone noticing it. I think it takes someone from outside looking in to feel
like
it. Validate it. Not like my husband saying it, my mom or my cousin here saying it or anything like that, but validating that and so more. And just to be clear, guys, I want to be clear. Dr. Eric said he does focus on people going through menopause, more so men with testosterone levels, right? Sex drive and so forth. The postpartum thing is something he knows about, but that's not your main focus. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct. Yep. So
if you're looking for that help, just to know before you reach out to him. And I think I asked you before, like, if you feel comfortable saying this, what is like a session with you start about, like, to see you and consult with you?
Sure. So, like, if you go to my website, you can sign up for a consult right there, but that includes a set of comprehensive lab work that I go above and beyond what you get at your doctor's. It was a pretty advanced panel. So this advanced comprehensive panel, which, people have priced out, they think at the price I have, and then I combine that with a consultation with me, it's about $597. But like I said, I'm going to be on the phone with you for probably 45 minutes to an hour. plus that, and again, that includes the lab work. So we can go through, get your whole history, get all your lab work, review it on the call, and then come up with a plan of action. And you'll walk away with actionable items that you can do, even if you don't want to work with me moving forward, which most patients do. And then on, it's like a monthly fee that's like a monthly coaching program that includes usually the cost of their hormones as well. So it's a pretty good deal moving forward. But even if you don't, I'll give you lots of actionable things you can do after that first call.
Okay. And then like that monthly roundabout cost, what does that go for a roundabout? Like normally after that?
Yeah, it varies.
Depending on the hormones or what they need, probably too, right?
Average. I'm actually thinking in my head too.
She's doing the math right now. She's like,
how much do I have to save? What do I got to do? What do I have to sell?
Yeah, it's anywhere between $200 and $250 or so.
That's not bad at all.
No,
that's less than my car payment.
I know. I've been told I need to raise prices. Peptides and things are a little bit more expensive, but that's just because peptides are more expensive, unfortunately. But that's
it's just the relative nature, right?
Now, what if you call your insurance and say, like, for whatever reason, they say I do cover I'm repeating what you said, peptide or something. Peptides, and they do cover it. Are we able to go through insurance if we wanted to, or?
So some patients will take, like, for example, like lab work, for example, say that like they'll pay for it, but they might be able to take that in and get reimbursed. Okay. Or some of it covered anyway, even if it's a portion of it. That's better than nothing. A lot of patients use like their HSA accounts and things like that too. So that's easy.
I didn't even think of that. That's smart too, because I know I have United Healthcare and they do reimburse me for a lot of stuff, even out of pocket costs for the pharmacy.
Yeah, there you go.
So I forgot that they did that. I think a lot of people forget unless they see it and like they are not paying for it intangible. Right. They forget that their insurance will reimburse them or help them later on. So
I think everybody should get like an HSA plan. And, here's some financial stuff here too outside of medicine, but because it's you get a write-off, right? And it's a tax savings vehicle, and then it accumulates, and then you can get reimbursed and use it to pay for things. And whatever you don't use, hell, you can invest it if you want, and it grows. So there's, HSAs are a great way to go.
We have a question for you in the chat. Jeanette says, what's the difference between hormone levels tested through your primary and hormones tested through a hormone specialist like yourself?
So the main difference is going to be the level of comprehensiveness. So you might be able to get, most doctors, they'll send me, when I get lab work from patients, we'll have kind of the basics in there, but it's usually not enough. I usually have to get more because it's just not enough information. For example, a thyroid, not to get too geeky, but they'll check what's called a TSH, and sometimes that's it. Or they'll send like a T4 and a T3, but I need the free T3, the free T4, I need the reverse T3, etc. So I just have to dig. So sometimes it's a good place to start, but it's usually not enough for a full picture. So I just go deeper and wider.
So I think that's a great way to put that. Is
curious what my neurologist did or not, because I know he said it was an intensive testing. So I don't know what that means, and I do the air quotes because he said intensive testing. And apparently, I don't know if a neurologist is someone you go to for these type of things. I guess because of my pituitary gland, that's why
pituitary. Yeah.
So he was the one who sent me all the testing, and he just told me, all right, everything seems like it's functioning fine. Your pituitary hasn't changed, and he told me my benign tumor is gone. It's not there.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't get how it just disappears. Like it's been there my whole life, and then it's like poof.
Yeah. Well, the only way to know is if they did like an MRI of your brain or something like that. Yeah.
And they're like, it's gone. I'm like, okay, I'm cured. All right, cool.
All right, good.
And one thing I just want to kind of throw out there too is, and this is from my perspective, and Dr. I'm curious to hear this, and then we can kind of you can kind of wrap it up with that. Again, I hope you don't feel like I'm like kicking you out the door here. Like I don't want it to come across that way at all. I know what it's like when it's the end of the day and you have like a window of time, and like we want to kind of like, because I'm sure you have a long day tomorrow and all the things that you're doing, but one of the things I was kind of curious, not just going back to your point of like the in-depth and scope at which you're going to look at things, but also the ranges as well. So for example, you mentioned those testosterone ranges is like, okay, well, we're in the normal versus the optimal. That was something you mentioned before that really resonates with me, and that my business partner Chuck and I have talked about a lot, because my business partner Chuck is very passionate about obviously using it. He's a little bit old, he's in his 40s, he's a little bit older than I am, so he's even more cognizant, and that's something I have to obviously continue to start to invest in is my blood work and hormone levels and how I'm repairing and the components that go to play there. So I wanted to just highlight that and pull that out. And again, I want to remind everybody, the cool thing that Dr. Eric mentioned, in case you're just joining or you missed this, I also dropped again his Instagram. You can check him out there and then go to his website. He not only has the consultations that you can do, and that's a big thing that I think is really awesome, is the kind of roadmap that even, let's say for whatever reason, they just want to do that one-off consult with you, they have something tangibly to take away that they can move on with and even work with other people if they, or just for themselves. I think is really cool. And just being able to just, again, one thing I got to give props to you, Dr. Eric, is like for your social media, the content that you create, the value and the insight that you share. So I want to just throw that out there for everybody. Please give him a follow. I put him on both of ours, whether it's on Instagram, on YouTube, check out the website. He's going to be dropping, again, courses that are going to be coming out as well that'll have a lot of value that I haven't even seen them yet, but I know what you're going to be putting out, and like I know how you roll, Dr. Eric, so I just want to say that. And with that being said, I'm going to leave the stage to you to kind of like final thoughts or anything before if you have to head out.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Mike. I really appreciate the help and the kind words and the courtesy. I do. That means a lot to me. So, yeah, I think the comprehensiveness is the biggest thing. And nowadays, there's so much information. One thing I almost forgot to mention is a lot of patients will ask for some advanced stuff too, like whether it's gut testing or food allergy testing. Oh, yeah. I can do all that stuff. And then one of the newer things that I've been doing for some time and playing around with is the genetic testing, looking at your looking and see what you're prone to, like for example, and you can look at your epigenetic and genetic tendencies and what you may have, problems with cholesterol, you may have problems. And you can even look at like what type of training you should be doing. Are you more genetically prone to aerobic versus strength training? And
yeah, like a fast twitch, slow twitch.
Tell me all that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's so cool. It's so cool.
So you get your genetics, you get your hormones, you get your lifestyle, you put all these things together. You can really put a really specific, cool package together for someone. You can really dial in specific to you and with the best plan for you. That's why there's no cookie cutter approach. You could really dial us in. So it's pretty cool stuff. So I almost forgot to throw that out there. So if anybody's interested, and that's a cool thing to look at.
But I'm assuming, is that included with the beginning package that you talked about earlier, or the gut and all that other stuff a little bit additional?
Yeah, that'd all be additional, but it's not terribly expensive actually. So
ask Michael how much my oil bill was last time.
We'll barter for some marketing help.
There we go. Yeah, okay, right. You hook me up because I will market the ish out of you.
I appreciate you having me on. I'm fine. I appreciate it. We'll talk about lifestyle stuff. I try to roughly get up and go to bed at the same time to keep me on track, but you got to be flexible too. Just like with the diet, you got to have some flexibility. So don't be too rigid. You got to live life a little bit. But thank you for having me on. I'd love to come back on and do more.
Absolutely.
If any of your followers or readers have questions, please reach out to me.
I'm going to drop his links in the chat again. And Dr. Eric, you've been amazing. Like the 15 minutes you've been on, you opened my eyes up more than any normal doctor that I've talked to. And I'm so glad we met you.
All right, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Eric.
Thank you, Dr. Eric.
All right, take care, guys.
Bye.
Bam. How awesome is Dr. Eric, by the way?
Oh, that was awesome. And look, Jeanette said, thank you so much for giving these resources. Thank you for sharing info, Dr. Eric. Please come back again, Rosalinda said. Guys, and
did you know Rosalinda's an LPN, by the way? I just saw her say that.
What does that mean? I saw that. Like, what does LPN mean?
Licensed nurse practitioner. If I'm saying that right, I'm really bad with the acronym. So LPN, I believe, is a licensed nurse practitioner.
That's LNP. She said LPN.
Yeah, but they switch up the letters. It's basically the same thing. So I'm pretty sure LPN's yep, you got it, coach. Yeah, exactly.
That makes no sense. That is a mind trickery game.
Don't ask me why they do that, but that's what it is. I'm just telling you.
Call a licensed nurse practitioner LPN. That makes no sense, and whoever made that needs to be fired immediately. We just wanted to trigger my dyslexia. Oh, she goes licensed practitioner nurse. See, Mike, you're saying.
Boom.
There we go.
Licensed practical nurse. So then
there's no way that they just switched the letters on us. Michael's like, yeah, they do that sometimes. They just switch the letters.
Same, whatever.
That just made me laugh. I'm sorry. That was funny.
Yeah, licensed practitioner, nurse, same. See, she's even saying it's the same. Because like I've heard both titles being used, so I feel like exactly people say it differently. Like I've heard people call them like licensed nurse practitioners or licensed practical nurses or practitioner nurses or whatever. All that matters is, and that's what's cool. This is, and sometimes because Ashley is actually tomato, right? Ashley is actually looking to get into the nursing field. That was like her next thing I think she actually wants to do is she wants to go
really
to school.
hard to be a nurse. It's not as easy.
Dude,
Everyone thinks like, oh, I'm going to go to school
yeah.
to be a nurse.
No,
like,
it's hard, man.
Especially a licensed, if I'm not mistaken, a licensed practitioner nurse is almost one
Like a
step.
doctor.
It's one step under or a few courses away, or like, if I'm not mistaken, like a degree away from becoming a doctor. I think my friend, I think Mika, you've met her. She just got, she just graduated and got that whole, and she started her, when you work at the rounds, I don't know, when you start.
Her residency.
Yeah, she got into a hospital and started doing that. It takes a while too. And I feel like they're so underpaid. So underpaid. I don't know if that's just me being, but I
No, dude. I'm more on the admin side, bachelor's in healthcare management. That's awesome, Jeanette.
Oh, wow.
That's cool. So I didn't know, Jeanette, that you were in the healthcare community as well, dude. I'm learning so much about you guys. This is so fun for me to kind of dig into this. So one of the things that also I think is cool though about the nursing side of things with this is that there's a lot of different specialties and applications. And to your point, I'm not 100% as far as how the breakdown goes, but to me, an LPN, I believe, or it might be a PA, a physician's assistant. I always forget how the discrepancies are. We provide patient care under a doctor. Exactly. So they can, under doctor supervision and having the okay, provide a lot of that care that's similar. And then I feel like a PA is in that maybe category as well. Physician's assistant.
But I think a PA can do it by themselves. I've been treated by a PA before.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
A doctor in the room. So I think the difference is that the LPN needs a doctor under doctor supervision. And I think the PA doesn't, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, can just have their own clinic.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. And that's even I was talking to Dr. Eric about this prior, and even when me and him talked, we were talking about this dynamic of just me exploring, because now I have this nationally board certified credential as far as a health coach. So now I can start to piggyback on insurance. So I'm trying to work with doctors. I mean, I've noticed a lot of doctors in the hormone and peptide specialty worlds and clinics, they just do out of pocket now. Even physical therapists, that I work with, they're honestly, dude, it's too much of a pain in the butt to deal with insurance. Because here's a fun fact behind the scenes. I was looking and doing all this because I thought that I was able to do this without a doctor, but I actually need a doctor or a clinic or a hospital system to use my certification to bill through insurance. And the caveat to it is, let's say let's say you're a doctor and you start your own private practice, you have to pay per insurance company a fee. I think it's $500 to $1,000 per insurance company to just apply to be able to bill insurance. That doesn't even mean you're going to get paid. So let's say you have United Healthcare, I think you said?
Yeah.
So let's say I wanted to apply to be able to bill United Healthcare for treating you if I was a doctor. I'd have to pay a $500 or $1,000, I forget what the fee is. It varies from insurance to insurance, per insurance company just to try and bill them. That doesn't even mean they're going to reimburse me. And then typically what happens with insurance is they don't even reimburse you at the billing rate that you have. So let's say I bill $500 an hour, they may reimburse me at $200 an hour. So that's why it's a weird medical system, because then doctors end up jacking up their prices if they're going to bill insurance, because they know insurance companies are going to try and negotiate and undercut them, and it drastically inflates the market. And then Dr. Eric and a lot of doctors that are going cash out of pocket, they get caught in this weird position of all right, how do they adjust their pricing to try and match what other doctors are doing that might be their insurance and what they're actually would be getting if they actually got compensated. So it's this weird game that starts to happen. And then Jeanette, you put something there in as well.
Yes.
Oldest son's father is a practitioner's assistant. It's a little different.
Okay.
But yeah. But I thought it's a physician's assistant too. I don't know if there's a difference between practitioner's assistant or physician's assistant. Anyways, I'm just bringing all this fun stuff up because I find it fascinating, and I was really excited to have Dr. Eric on because he's got such a pool of knowledge. And the thing I really respect about him is he's not just in it and you saw he'll do a comprehensive view, and he won't just say, all right, we're going to put you on a hormone cycle. Because when I first started talking to him, I was saying all right, I want to start doing peptides and trying to figure out he's well, first let's look at your sleep, let's do your blood work, let's do all that fun stuff. Then I got honestly sidetracked with a bunch of other projects and things, but that's something I also want to talk to Dr. Eric about in the future, is getting my blood work, having a comprehensive panel with him, and then starting to use peptides potentially as well, depending on where my hormone levels are at. But let's see, pharmaceutical companies as well. Coach, at the end of the day, it all boils down with, it's unfortunately about the money, which is, Yeah, I'm not a fan. Yeah, me neither. And I think there should be. I'm a very big fan of capitalism and the capitalistic society of being able to monetize and having the market dictate what's going to be popular. Like, hey, you don't like a business and how they operate? Cool. Don't give them your money. Don't buy and support their business. They'll go out of business, hypothetically. I like that. However, there's also sometimes companies can get too big and monopolies and that. But on the other side, I think there should be kind of a conflict if you're profiting off of people's health, like, or like medical, like in the hospital systems. Like, I've worked for nonprofit hospitals and for-profit hospitals, and I just think it's such a conflict of interest to have a for-profit medical system. But also, ironically, I work in the health system and I make money and I make my entire living off of health and people's wellness. So, like, I don't know, it's a catch-22.
Yeah, I think there's a moral ethic behind it that you have to believe in. Like I was saying before, even as far as moms and being postpartum, and the fact that Jeanette wrote, and Gina, if you ever need a little mom support, you can always reach out to me by message on your social medias. I'm on all of them. I get it. And sometimes you just need a little mom support of people going through the same thing. Thank you, Jeanette. That means so
That's
much
beautiful.
to me. And yes, you don't understand.
Gina's going to start crying.
No. Not right now because I have eyeliner on, and if I do, it's gonna get all over the place. But it did get me a little teary-eyed there, not gonna lie. And we started this podcast and this platform so that we could connect with you guys. We will obviously, don't get me wrong, Amazon is about products and stuff like that, but we wanted to take a day out of the week to talk to you guys and make it like a podcast setting. And go, Gina. Thank you. You guys are the best. Thank you so much.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, we have products down below that I'm switching through. You might see me sipping through my water bottle and then I highlight it and stuff like that. But this podcast is not, and this episode on Amazon Live, it's not product driven in any sense. But we do have some products down below if you'd like to check them out. But
and you can support us that way, but that's not what this is about.
It is not what this is about. And this episode is just this series is just to talk to you guys. Have fun, talk to us, and be a part of the conversation. Talk and have coffee with Gina. Coffee. Yeah, like out of my unbreakable wine glass.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, I thought that was pretty cool. I had to pop that in there real quick. And you saw me lighting my candle with my electric lighter. That was pretty cool.
I like it. That was nice and slick.
Hey, I'm on the second weekend with you, girl. We in this together. Yes. I am trying to. I mean, like, I shouldn't say the hardest. I couldn't work out this week because Michael messed me up. I'm not. It's not Michael's fault. It's my own fault.
No. I'll equally take the blame.
Can we blame Chuck because he told me to do 25 pounds?
Yeah, we can blame Chuck, but I'll take the blame as well, because to me, it's the coach's job and position to keep you healthy, keep you safe, and put you in a position where we're not pushing too hard so that you can actually show up the next day, the following day. But that's also, here's the give and take of it. This is what just, even with Dr. Eric, is like, no matter what blood work we'll see or textbook data is, like, it's still a learning process on how your body's going to respond. So for example, even if like we're the best coaches in the world and we say, hey, do 25 and you can't do it, like, okay, we back off. Now we know next week we're not going to say immediately do that. We're going to adjust and adapt accordingly. Show up and show out. What? I see you, Rosalinda.
Rosalinda, let me tell you, and she said weekend workout. Sorry. No, yeah, Jeanette, I think you've been in most of our lives with us on our workouts, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
This weekend, we were doing a lot of big upper body workouts, and it was basic, like, bench presses, I guess it would be. I don't know what the fuck those were called. But the ones we were on the floor and we're lifting like up like this. I did 25 pounds on each hand, right? And I felt by the third one in the first round that I'm like, no. I shouldn't be doing this. But I pushed myself and did it. And it hurt so bad after the next day and 2 days after, even to today, right now it still kind of hurts all back here and in my chest and area. I could not even scratch my face without crying. That's how bad it hurt. Yeah, exactly. Don't you cry for me now, Argentina.
Yeah.
I could even like reach behind to wipe my bottom properly, probably. Not TMI, but TMI here.
Oh, you got mud butt. Gross.
No, we made it work. The days and all. But now I'm going to be good to go for this Saturday and hopefully not kill myself so I can work out during the week. But yeah, that was fun. And we actually have Chevy who's going to be working out with us this week, and he's new to Amazon Live and another coach here. We got him on board. You guys are going to love him. So make sure you tune in this Saturday. We're going to do our live workout together and all that fun stuff.
Right.
Yes, I totally get that. I'm looking at the chat now. Some of us aren't. Show them Long Island muscles, Gina. Yeah. Ow.
Right,
Actually,
get your muscles on.
I
Oh, what's up, Gavin?
Hi, Gavin. How are you? I was raised in Long Island from Hicksville, right off Oyster Bay. We know where
Oh,
Hicksville is.
snap. Yeah, I know where you at.
I just moved to Suffolk County, so I'm out here. I'm out here's.
We out here. Yeah, Hicksville. That's still NASA.
Is it?
Nassau.
That's
I want to say
NASA.
Hicksville's Nassau.
Thank you for the follow,
Yeah,
Gavin.
Gavin, virtual hugs. And again, yeah, if you guys, speaking of which, that just reminds me, if you're not following, please feel free to follow. It's a tremendous help. Greatly appreciated. And here's like the game, like the reality of it, guys, like it does support us. The more follow, to be very transparent with you guys, is the more people that engage in our streams, the more people that follow us, that chat, and obviously helps our numbers, then we can get really cool sponsorships and partners. But regardless, we're going to be here hanging out with you guys, and if you want to support us, you can. If not, you just want to hang out, and that's totally cool too. It's your life. You live it.
Ask Gina, yeah, gotta lock even them baby strollers up out there in New York. Exactly.
I got it,
I lock my strollers up. Oh, you know what I did want to touch base on just a little bit because I did promote it in my Instagram.
Ooh, talk to me. Talk to me.
Don't get too excited now, Mike. Oh, Jeanette says, we Long Island girls have to stick together. We're a soft breed with hard exteriors. Facts.
Aww.
Facts. Thank you, Jeanette. You are amazing. So are you, Rosalinda. You guys are amazing. But I did say that the whole sunshine and rainbows things about motherhood or parenthood,
yeah, let's talk about that, dude.
Like how everyone expects or perceives this. You see influencer moms and oh my God, this one, that one, magical picture with the belly and pregnancy was magical. I'm growing a life. Oh my God, it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, it is beautiful. And then motherhood. Oh my God, motherhood is amazing. It is beautiful. It's this image of sunshine and rainbows 24/7. And I think it's sunshine and rainbows like 20 to 80% ratio. Like, tell me if I'm wrong. Do you think being a parent is like 80% fucking sunshine and rainbows? Excuse my language. What would be your ratio?
I think it's easier for me. I'm going to be really transparent with you guys. I think I have it very easy because I don't know if this is a good thing though. I got to be honest. It is, obviously I didn't have to carry the babies. Like makes it super easy, right? Is no matter how much I'll sacrifice, like I won't have to ever do that side. Like you had to make a different sacrifice than me or Josh will have to ever make. So that's definitely a variable. On the other side too, I think of it this way, man, like me and Ashley have created this life right now. We were talking about it earlier today. Like I work long days. Like we started at, what time was that? It was 6:30. No, let's say Wednesday. Mm-hmm. So I was actually up. I slept till 8 o'clock today. So I slept till 8. And I got like a pretty good amount of sleep. I got, 6.5 hours and I took an hour nap. So I got like 7.5 hours total sleep, which is right in my 7 to 9 hour window. So I've, over the last year after having kids, like I left from having, a full-time job, corporate job to like just running the business, getting the business into a position to a place where like I can take off. And when I say take off, go up for like an hour and go play with the kids. So like, honestly, for me, it's like, it's more than 50% sunshines and rainbows, but that's because Ashley eats. Like right now, here's what's happening. I'm streaming with you guys. Ashley's sleeping in the girls' bed to make sure that they stay in their bed and they sleep there. And she'll be up with them throughout the night. And now I also try and help, but like, honestly, I'm a very snappy, miserable person when I don't sleep. So Ashley's just like, you know what? And this is like a bad thing too that I got to work on to help Ashley is like, she's just like, F it. I'll just do it myself. I'll suck up. I won't get sleep. I won't eat. I won't do whatever. And she won't communicate as much because she just shuts down and goes. So that's where it's like, to your point, I think that's why it's not always sunshine and rainbows too, is because like from my personal experience, I can't speak to anyone else, but for me, it was like I find it easier to be selfish as the guy than as the female. Now Chuck, I'll just compare to Chuck. Chuck goes above and beyond from selfishness perspective, and I learned a lot from him to like how to be a good partner and be a good parent and like sleeping on the floor for weeks and weeks at a time to make sure your kid stays in their room or whatever that is. And I try and do more of that, but I'm genuinely like I've been more selfish than Ashley has, and I'm trying to work on that. So that's a long-winded answer of like my thoughts on it, which makes it easier for me, but also it's hard, man. Dude, there's moments where like I want to rip my hair out and like I genuinely want to lose my, like I'm like, I honestly, like I want to look at them and be like, Daddy's gonna lose it, and I'm leaving right now. But I don't ever do that.
Of course. No, I mean,
I would actually leave, but like, you know what I mean? Like, sorry, I'm just like looking at the chat now.
No, it's Rosalinda talking. But what sign is Ashley?
So she is April 18th. So I don't know let's look at what that is.
April 18th, Aries, I think.
Sign.
But
oh yeah, Aries. Okay.
And don't get me wrong, when I say that it's 20%, 80%, here's the thing. I love my daughter. I will give my right arm for her. Literally give an arm for her. And but what I'm talking about is the mental capacity, the physical capacity of it, the being magical all the time, feeling good all the time, feeling like there's so much pressure to do so much, especially even as a stay at home working mom, because again, even though I'm working, I'm stay at home. I work from home, so I have to balance being in the house with her while my even and
work done.
Her crying and working in my office and not like going.
Not feeling guilty or being distracted or.
Also not feeling overwhelmed, feeling the pressures of everything. I run a business completely by myself with the help of you, to a certain extent. But
dude, you run your own business. I don't do shit for your business.
I mean, but you've been helping me a lot with the Amazon.
I mean, yeah, but like that's not real. I appreciate that as a kind word, but like, let's be real. You're running the show. Come on. Like, I have my own business I'm running the show on. You have your own business you're running the show on, and we collaborate together. But like, you have your own burdens and responsibilities you have to bear, and you and your family have to bear.
Of course. Well, again, but I'm giving you credit that, like, because even with the Amazon stuff, I probably wouldn't be able to do it if I didn't have your help. To be honest with you, I'd be doing 90% of it all by myself, and it would feel, and even just Jeanette wrote, isolated. Like, imagine me doing this without having someone to go live with, like, and doing this completely by myself, 24/7. It's hard and so overwhelming to the point where, and I'll be transparent, the other day, me and my husband had a huge fight. And it was more so on my end because I had a lot of notes that I felt super overwhelmed. I feel like he wasn't hearing or seeing me, which I wasn't communicating it the right way, because I had proposals due. I had to be with my daughter. My husband was working from Thursday till Sunday or Friday to Sunday, whatever it was. So I was with my daughter from like 12 or 1 o'clock until she went to bed. And then I was cooking, I was meal prepping, I was cleaning. I had a friend come over, so at least Logan had someone to play with and I wasn't by myself. She slept over for 2 days, so that was like constantly hosting and entertaining. And I had to work at the same time, So to me, when I say it's not magic and sunshine and rainbows, is that no one touches base on the fact of the things hormonally, touching back to Dr. Eric, emotionally and physically that we have to deal with as parents, not even just moms. Sometimes the shoe's on the other foot. It could be a dad in my position. Being the stay-at-home dad or whatever it is, but no one ever sheds light on how dark, how lonely, how depressing being a parent can be, and that it's nothing to do with the love for our child. So don't feel guilty that you don't love your child, because they put this stigma that, if you're depressed, if you're not happy as a parent, that you are a bad parent for having depression over your child or being a parent.
That's like nothing you have even control over, too. That's the other thing. So if we look at just like, and again, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, nor am I a doctor, but even alluding to what Dr. Eric's talking about, like, especially with like, this is the thing I didn't realize is your pituitary issues, because that's like a massive role in hormone regulation, body regulation, so many things, dude. Like we have to like reevaluate your entire like healthcare approach, because there's so many things that is tied to, we can look at. And I think whether it's Dr. Eric or whatever, like we'll talk about this off the air as well, but like there's so many things. And that's the other side of it too, is like, even when I say like, hey, I'm grateful for my life and all those things, but there's some hard moments that like, that's the trade-off. This is what I will say with me and Ashley. Like, if you asked Ashley right now, how much money do we have? Are we good financially? Like, she has no clue. She's just like, I'm just like, hey, dude.
You're me and Josh is Ashley. He doesn't care. Not that he doesn't care, don't get me wrong, he cares. But I'm the one who looks at the bank accounts every day. I make sure the bills are paid, in the sense of like our credit cards are linked, and
you're handling it.
That's another pressure.
Yeah, dude.
Imagine seeing the bills every day, being the only one that sees in the day, only because I think I'm also a control freak. Not that my husband doesn't offer. Let me take that back. My husband offers to help. Don't get me wrong with that. Like to see it. He's like, what can I pay?
Yeah.
I'm like, no. I know what works. I know what credit card goes here. I know what bank account goes here. But then I'm doing that, checking that on a daily and everything else. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Continue, Mike.
No. And like, so there's a couple things like, and then I'm just laughing because Jeanette's saying like, are you sure, Mike, coach, counselor, Mike? Like I definitely like as a coach for sure. And like, whatever. But then also I see we as mamas, we didn't really get enough credit or credentials on us towards being. So here's the other thing. I was talking to Ashley about this a while ago. You know how like, if you think about like how many hours you put in as a mom and think about billing at those hours. So if you think about it, because like, here's the thing. That's what I realized too is like, in the middle of the night, you think we're quote unquote off. There's no off when you're a parent. There's no like clocking out. There's no.
You know how many times I wake up to check if my child is okay on the monitor? Just a random, I'm like, she fucking alive.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and then the paranoid thoughts that kick in, or like Ashley sent me this TikTok video that was like a woman or a girl that was like, so how's like pregnancy? Like, how would you describe it? Whatever. And she goes, well, you know, it's good. Like, I feel like I'm fine. But, you know, sometimes like, you know, I'll just look at my daughter or my kid and they're eating something and I just think like, what if they just start choking and go blue and die right in front of me?
You know
or
how
like,
many times I have those thoughts a day, Michael?
Yeah, like
I see my therapist on those thoughts. Like for a while, I had more dangerous thoughts, not like dangerous in the sense of suicide, dangerous thoughts.
No, like
worst case scenario thoughts. Even before I was a mom.
Someone's holding Logan and they just drop her, or like, like I get that too because I've been there. I've totally been there. Or that here's the difference though. Like Ashley goes to another extreme. She'll be like, "What if there's like an earthquake and the scissor that's on the shelf goes flying and like stabs her in the heart?" Or like so she gets like crazy intrusive
I
thoughts.
wonder about that. I want a bunker. I want a fucking bunker. Excuse my language. I want a bunker. The world's coming to an end. No, I kid you not.
You want to be prepared. You want to be prepared.
I kid you not, I took a class, astronomy, right? And then this teacher screwed me up for life because you know what solar flares are?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going to happen. There's no if, it's
when.
It's
a matter of when.
It's a matter of when, and it could be in this lifetime. So at any moment, and for those who don't know what a solar flare is, it's a ray of heat or a ray off the sun that flares off and sends this wave of strong energy, knocking out every source of energy and power on the planet Earth and can wipe out the population on whatever side of the Earth it hits.
Now they're not always that intense though, like because they've yeah.
It can happen for our kids. We might die. It might happen for our kids. But we almost had a close one when I was actually in the class. He brought it up that they can see it coming, but would they announce it? No. But then after,
because people would freak out.
They posted it on the internet that we almost we had a small one. And they're like, we had one. I don't know if you guys noticed that our cell phones went out for like 2 hours.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, because they've happened before. It's just to the degree and the magnitude. And that's why, like, you have people like Elon Musk that are so passionate about, like, dude, we got to get off this planet, homie. Like, this is not as safe as we think. And, dude, this gets into, like, maybe a whole other thing. But I totally get the idea of, you know, just – to me, it's like there's a part of it that's like brain chemistry. Because here's the other thing: when it goes to postpartum, like my brain chemistry didn't change as much as Ashley's or yours did because the hormonal factor and some of the other variables that go along with that. Obviously, there's still a pressure and a responsibility, and like I've changed how I don't do the same. Something like here's the weirdest but biggest difference I noticed that's super subtle is how I drive. I was a very reckless driver before I had kids, and like I would like. I'm not going to go into all the things I would do, but I did not always make the best decisions driving. And I obviously, I never got into a lot of wrecks. I hit a school building once because not because of like, I was recklessly, I was doing donuts in a parking lot and I just lost control. Like I hit the school.
Yeah. Like
that was one, and like maybe a couple other handful of accidents throughout like my 20 years of driving. But I've noticed I drive completely different now, you know, and especially when the kids are in the car. Like I stop when it's yellow instead of like gunning it. Like little things like that have completely shifted my life. But here's the other crazy thing is I feel like sometimes we forget that we're the same people with just more life experience. Like we're just kids that have grown up and now have life experience in these things. But there's the brain chemistry factor, but there's also this idea of like, I don't know, man. Like there's some things we can control. Like for example, intrusive thoughts, we can't necessarily control what they're there, but we can control how we respond or work on how we respond to them.
That's what my
And then,
therapist told me. You can't worry about the things that you can't control. And in the sense of that, obviously, yes, you're going to think about it, but you can't let it consume you. Because, like, it was to the point, like, when I first had Logan, the anxiety of those thoughts,
yep,
like, made me sit down and cry and, like, freak me out. And the amount of panic attacks that I had and the amount of is it intrusive thoughts or invasive thoughts?
intrusive, yeah,
Intrusive
invasive,
thoughts,
intrusive, same thing.
like that I had were insane. Like from Logan to Josh even leaving, I would freak out when he'd leave the house thinking he's gonna die in a car accident and I'm gonna be a
Oh
single
yeah,
mother and I can't do
oh
this
yeah.
by myself.
Ashley's had that.
So and to the point where I was crying hysterically all the time, even for what everyone at least thought was no reason, or kind of no reason, but for these thoughts that like even till now that like I get nervous that, Logan's gonna fall forward on the tile, smash her head and like be unconscious,
Yeah,
like that. And it's crazy. It's
it's intense. And then yeah, Laura, I see you in the chat. And then also Cora Lee just said, and this is going a completely different turn. So like, I don't know if you guys or G, if you know about like the Ukraine and Russia situation right now, but apparently Russia just invaded Ukraine like officially. But I don't know if that's what you're saying, Cora Lee. Let me know if that's what you're saying, and then I'd have to check the news to see what's going down because now that's a whole ripple effect on what's going to be going down with war in this world. But that's like a whole nother. We don't have to go down that. That's like a whole nother dynamic. But so here's the thing, man. And this goes back to like knowing, it's kind of like, the serenity prayer.
yeah.
Like so the big takeaway for me in the serenity prayer is like looking at what we can control and what we can't, and being able to have the ability and the wisdom to have the differences and discrepancies between the two, and then focus. So like, let's say you have all these anxieties. Like, so I knew Ashley was anxious about me dying. I took out a life insurance policy. Like, I'm not saying that fixes anything, but focusing on what we can control. But then there's also a slippery slope of how much do you want to obsess about all the different things? Like, like today, I'm going to give you a perfect example. Lena, we have our new swing set. Tessa was walking by the swings. Lena did not look. She's looking away from Tessa, loads up, and then just like extends her legs out and swings and drop kicks Tessa so hard in the chest. I thought she knocked her unconscious. Like, I was like, great, now we're gonna have to go to the hospital. That's what's gonna happen right now. Or she like busted her teeth. Thankfully, like Tessa took it like a champ, got right back up, obviously was crying. But kids are also very malleable and durable. But my point of saying all that is like, it's hard, man, because like I want them to have life experiences, but I also don't want to like pad and protect them too much. And like, I think that being able to focus, like, it's a slippery slope because if you're too anxious, like that will like ripple into Logan, or that'll ripple into Lena and Tessa, or like our kids. But if we're not caring enough and we're absent in their lives altogether, that has its own consequences. I don't think there's anything wrong with caring. I think it's a matter of like you said, dude, like, hey, you're exercising, you're working on your sleep, you're working on your food. Maybe now we'll work with Dr. Eric and figure out lab-wise what's going on and figure out different things there. And like focusing on what we can control, but also giving ourselves the grace and permission to accept and acknowledge like some things are going to be out of our control. And like, hey, guess what, G? Like, you're going to die. I'm going to die. Everyone's going to die. Like, I know those are weird, depressing, but like the idea, and the sooner we can accept that, and I'm not saying like I'm like, listen to me, like this is just my perspective, but this is also, and this goes on a whole thing, we don't have to talk about it on Amazon because this is a controversial topic, but that's why I'm so passionate about like psychedelics and a therapeutic application in a controlled professional setting, and having health and wellness resorts, having also more things related to like addiction treatment, and having more opportunities and things to do there. Like I'll talk about this off the air, me and you will talk about this, Gina, because like we have some crazy stuff coming up in the next 3 to 5 years that are going to be like literally, I think it's going to be changing the world. It's going to change our society and have a massive shift in what we do. But it's just hard, man. And like being able to realize like this is just a blip in existence, and like all of our problems are like so minute, which is easy to say, but when it's your kid and you see them crying and in pain, or you're thinking about those things, I don't care. I don't care if I'm going to live 100 years, 1,000 years, or 10 years. If I saw Lena and Tessa crying, I would do whatever it would take to stop them from being in harm's way or being in pain. But that's also where, like, I think of it from an addict perspective, am I doing them justice by trying to help them, or do they have to kind of suffer in certain situations? Or what, you know what I mean? I'm going to stop ranting here. I'm just coming on like a whole.
Oh, no, you're not ranting. You're fine. I think my thing response from the thing, and I got in and out. a little weird. Tell me if I'm cutting in and out a little bit. I don't know why
It
my
was,
internet's
but now it's good. And then dude, your chat's popping off here. I can't keep up with all this.
I know, I'm gonna go. That's why. As soon as you're done, I wanted to go back and check it. Jeanette, the original thing that she said, the problem is, as a mom, we are conditioned to believe that if we complain or we are a failure. And we have taught to stuff it down and deal with those feelings. And I said to her, that's exactly what I said to my husband. I feel like I'm failing. I feel like he's like, you're not failing. Like, if you feel that way, talk to me. Let me know as well. And it's okay to feel that, just not failing. So,
Gee, it sounds like your mic's kind of choppy again. I don't know if it's just my headphones or if it's the mic itself. I'm curious.
Let me remove myself. You're good. I'm gonna refresh my. Okay.
Cool beans. And then let us know in the chat too if you're hearing that, because I know my headphones were having an issue in the past where like it would be choppy. Let me know if that was like sounding good. It's just like me, but we shall see. And then I'm going to go back through. Let's see all these messages. I appreciate you guys just like hanging in there and digging all to these conversations on Gina's as well as on mine. Corley getting into all the other stuff that's going on globally.
Am I better now?
There we go. Yeah. That sounds good.
Okay, we should be now. All right. I think it was just having a connection issue for a second. Let me see if that's been better. How we doing, guys?
Seems like it's better. How about you guys? You let me know. And then I feel like we were on Rosalinda, or maybe we were at Jeanette. I forgot where we were from the comments kind of getting through everything.
Here we go. Are we good?
Oh, yeah. The problem is, as moms, that sounded okay.
Okay, good. I wanted to go off it was going off the Wi-Fi, but I turned the Wi-Fi off, so it should be better now. And then we have a bunch of comments. I promise you are not alone. You are doing an amazing job. Only you can see those thoughts, and only you can understand that the way you feel. It's valid feeling, but not true. You are amazing. Thank you. And then we have Rosalinda. Yes, one thing I had to literally realize on my very own, and glad that I did that. Yes, we can change the situation, not to worry about it. Yes. Stay-at-home moms, we need to support each other. Yes, we need a support group. That's kind of what I wanted this to be about too. Like the Amazon is supporting each other, and I also have real mom stuff on Instagram that I kind of like about the things. So we have the Real Family stuff here, the podcast, and I also talk about the brand real.mom.stuff on Instagram. I'm gonna post about funny things that moms go through there. So I wanted to kind of start that. COVID was a biggie for me. COVID triggered my anxiety so bad.
Dude,
yes, you are amazing. Mother, wife, daughter, friend, and influencer. Always continue to always look in the mirror and always know you are worth it, because you are. Thank you, guys. You don't understand how much you guys saying these things means so much to me, and the fact that you understand the importance of all this and what we do and what we say, and are able to uplift each other. Virtual hugs, everyone. Lori, thank you again for being here. Hi, Pineapple. How are you?
Oh yeah, Pineapple.
But yeah, there is a stigma around moms that if you need a break, you're a failure.
Or you're weak, or something's wrong,
or whatever. And at one point, me and my husband were in heat of the argument. He says, like, why after like one day with Logan, you feel like you're crumbling, like you can't handle it. And I took that to heart. And I know what he meant, and he didn't mean it, because he's with Logan from 9 to 5 all day. He's like, I'm with her and I feel fine. I'm like, you also handle things a little bit different. Part of my business is dealing with multiple people at all times. So my business, I'm dealing with like 40 clients a day. I'm over exaggerating, maybe like 20 clients a day, managing people. And then even when I'm with Logan, it doesn't stop, and it's just so much at once all the time that I feel like once a week I'm feeling like I'm breaking, and then I guess it doesn't stop for me on the weekends. I got to learn when to tell people, no, enough is enough. Pineapple said, what's the topic? So basically we were going through how parenting is not always sunshine and rainbows. That for me, I felt there was like sometimes a 20-80 split of like the 20% could be sunshine. 80% is,
everything else, life,
anxiety, life. And it doesn't take away from anything that you're not a good mom or parent or you don't love your child, but there is so much overwhelming factors that it's just not, even pregnancy. Again, like everyone says it's sunshine and rainbows, and I did not enjoy being pregnant. In the beginning, yes, I will say in the beginning I was fine, but when it got towards like the third trimester, I was miserable. I couldn't sleep. I was not happy. I was hot because it was like the summer months, and I was disgusting. So I disassociate, and giving birth is not fun either. I don't know. People like, I birthed this baby. It's so magical.
That's what's weird about Ashley. She hated pregnancy, but she's like, I love giving birth. She's like, I'll do that 10 out of 10 times. I'm like, you are a psycho. Like, that's crazy to me.
No.
No.
She is crazy, but everyone's experience is different. Me, I think I had a very traumatic birthing experience. So like,
yeah, you bled out.
I bled out. I had the worst. No, okay, I can't say she was the worst nurse ever. And maybe since you guys are like in the medical field, you guys might know a little bit about this and tell me if it's true or not. My nurse told me I can't make noises while pushing. She told me to close my mouth and push. So in the movies, when you see and like they're pushing and stuff, like apparently they told me I can't make noise. I had to go. That's literally what I was told to do. And push. Like, biatch, what do you think I'm doing? You think I'm like playing chess here? Of course I'm pushing. Like in my ear saying push, you got this. If you and like kept like yelling in my ear, I wanted to kill her. And she wasn't yelling, but she was just being annoying. And then they're like, change this position, try this. And I couldn't breathe because I had a stuffy nose. Because when you're pregnant, you can't breathe through your nose. It's a thing, your sinuses, it's inflammation. And then they have me laying flat on my back, so I can't breathe. I have a deviated septum. And they're like, close your mouth, but you need to breathe at the same time. I'm like, I can't do that because I can't breathe out my nose. You crazy people, and I'm gonna pass out. So they're like, it was just like me yelling at them yelling at me, and then I found out I was bleeding out, and it was like, and Logan was born with the cord around her neck. So
just all the stress. So, gee, one thing that I want to piggyback on this, even though it's not about childbirth specifically, it's Coralie on my side was kind of saying how, she brought up like, Russia's invading Ukraine. I actually just looked it up. It's like actually like Putin just announced like they're officially like going to be invading and there's going to be military action and like anyone that tries to intervene, things are going to be popping off, which is like pretty substantial in the global side of things. It's going to drastically impact the market economically, like war. Like this is actually like a very interesting, and I'm no historian, so I'm speaking outside my scope, but the reason I say this is like she said, so I was kind of asking her, like that's definitely something to like obviously pay attention. I got to look at this. And she's saying how, she's scared for the world, for her kids, growing up today. So she said today her daughter asked if she could wear a crop top, and she found a Cardi B CD in her room and had really bad songs on it, and she had to have a big talk. So I was like, how old's your daughter? She's 12. I was like, oh man, that's tough. Like, because you're at that transitional preteen stage now. And what I asked was like, what were you like as a 12-year-old? What were you listening to? Because I got to be honest with you. Like I remember when I was 12, like as much as that seems like we're kids, like in middle school, like kids were getting arrested for selling drugs in my middle school already. Like they were getting popped for weed. They were already like hooking up and like sexual things were going on. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I'm like, I know at least when I was 12 what things were like. So I'm like, it's always within context, of like, what was it like? And I wonder, like, what was that for on your side, G, and like even Coralie? Like, I'm curious to hear, like, what were you guys like at 12, and like when your kids are in that, maybe if they're at that age, like, what is that like, and how do you feel about the parenting side of things? Like you've kind of alluded to it before, Gina. Like, so like, let's say Logan wants to wear an outfit that you don't agree with. Like, how do you respond to that, or something like that?
I'm going to touch that in 2 seconds. I just see in the chat going off. Pineapple Eggs, do you think what you felt during pregnancy is somewhat the personality your CHD had? What does that mean? Just tell me so I could answer that for you. Pineapple. Oh my God, I had the same making noise. No, they had no need to say that. Yes, you were just like push. That's it. And they're like, no help. Oh, she's talking about the pushing part. Okay, good to know. I was born in the 80s. Life wasn't like what it is now when I was growing up in the 80s. I know what it is going on when I was at that age. So back to the topic of, and pineapple, let me know what CHD means, or CD.
Hold on, where do you see that?
CHD, if you go up a little bit, 3 minutes ago.
Okay, hold on.
But to go and embellish on the 12-year-old thing, here's the thing. I think it depends on the child and the maturity of the child. I believe, and I hope this is the case. Again, I could say this and I'm blue in the face, and I don't know if this is going to be the case. I believe that, for example, people are like, you can't curse around children is a bad example. To me, I rather expose her to the cursing and say, this is when you use it. There's a proper use for it. Use it in the home. You don't curse at people. You don't curse. It's disrespectful to do it to an adult. And you don't curse at anyone. If she dropped something and she said shit, okay, cool, she said it. Like, she's not saying go F yourself. So to me, if I teach her like the proper way to use curse words and when the right time is. So to me, let's go back to the Cardi B thing. So if I find my daughter has a Cardi B CD and she knows the proper way and what those words mean and when to use them and not to use them, I'm okay listening to her to Cardi B. That's fine. And if I had the conversation of what they're talking about in this thing, in the CDs, like, WAP and all that stuff and that song, and I would hope by 12 years old, I have the, private part conversation. Yeah, think about it. 12, 13 years old, there was those things and we were discovering and we were learning, and I'd rather guide her through it than try to strip it and make her feel guilty. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing at all. Who was it that we were talking about?
Corley.
I'm not shaming or saying what you're doing is wrong at all. Every child is different. If I feel my child is too immature and maybe doesn't understand this and is rebelling or doing something bad things and getting in a lot of trouble, that's a different scenario. But I would start from the jump of teaching my kid. And to me, I want to rather expose her to the harshness of things as far as maybe Cardi B or, dancing or wearing a crop top. Or you could wear a crop top if you know how to respect your body and what that comes along with it and understand what happens what could happen and the repercussions of wearing a crop top and how do you represent yourself wearing that crop top. Are you pushing your boobs up and trying to get all the attention in the world from every guy out there? Then I might tell my daughter, hey, I don't think this is a good idea. We should wait off till you wear crop tops. If my daughter's
why are you doing that in the first place? Like, why do you want that attention? Where might there be insight? Because there's to me, I always look at the psychology. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but just to that component and something you mentioned too, Corley, she just kind of, because I asked what were you like at 12? What were you wearing? Listening. She goes, yeah, she was mad. She had to kind of get it. And I think that's a good move on your part, by the way, Corley, is remove yourself from the situation to allow your emotions to kind of lower. So you're not going to say something.
Why did she want to wear a crop top? Is it all of her friends but her? Is now she's going to feel like the only one left out? See, is she doing it because she wants to impress a boy? But then you have the conversation is, hey, a crop top doesn't impress a boy. Yes, you'll get them to like you for the wrong reasons. Again, it depends on the child. And I think it depends on what you've exposed them to, what they understand. And watching even that, going back to the show Euphoria, that is not far-fetched for what kids are going through in high school. Or what will they go through in high school?
Dude, it reminds me of my high school experience. If I'm going to be really transparent with you, I can relate to a lot of the stuff, especially where I grew up. We grew up, we didn't have the crazy kind of money that you'll see at Dix Hills and stuff, with really exorbitant families. But I remember kids growing up, dude, there was Corvettes and Porsches and Mercedes in our parking lot, lots of money and privilege and, great athletes that had D1 scholarships that could get away with stuff and do all those types of things. But I want to go back to what you said, Corley, because she kind of said hey, I was hey, what was your life like when you were 12 growing up? She goes, I was a normal teen in the late 90s, listening to hymns, not Cardi freaking B. So I think, if I'm hearing you right, listening to hymns, that means you're listening to church music. So if you're listening to church music compared to Cardi B, those are two completely ends of the spectrum. So then I wonder, what was the
dynamic
child
of what
raising?
You grew up. Yes,
exactly.
You're listening to church music because that's probably what you're exposed to and that's what your parents gave you. I'm not saying you gave your kid a Cardi B CD, but that means
especially with technology.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You also didn't have the technology to just see a Cardi B video. I'm sure you only had what your parents gave you. At this point in the game, we have technology where they could find, guys, I know the chat's going off on my end. I'm going to read it in just a second. And they could literally just Google a video and find out for themselves. There's going to be a lot of way for them to be independent, and we have to guide them through that independence and hope they make the right choices with that newfound independence. Because the independence is going to be found early. You said, oh, well, this is what I was doing at 12 years old. You also didn't gain such a great amount of independence at 12-year-old in the 80s and 90s. There wasn't internet like that until later on, early 2000s, where you're probably exposed to it. But now my daughter is not even 2 years old, and she's able to watch YouTube videos on an iPad that I put Elmo on for her.
Yeah.
At what point can she search the internet and YouTube herself? Probably by 6 years old, 5 years old, even if not sooner.
Dude, Lena can already well, I can't say she can't Google things, but Lena, they've both downloaded apps to my phone without me they just somehow got that to happen. Ads pop up, things come up, they had access to my phone. And then hold on, she got the CD at a 7-Eleven, she said. And that, so that's the thing. It's
So that's even showing them more independence that they could have at that age.
Exactly. Yeah.
That, and I think technically you're not supposed to be allowed to buy a Cardi B CD if it's the explicit one under the age of 18 or 16. I think there's like a parental guidance.
Stipulation.
So that's the 7.
But you could also you could just have someone it's like buying beer, hey, here's some money, can you just buy this for me and keep a little bit of cash. So Corley, the one thing I'm kind of curious about, what is the environment you grew up in? Meaning are you in the same state? Are you in the same town that you grew up in the same kind of environment? Did you move? And not that there's anything wrong with either one. And I'm more asking because I grew up in New York. I lived a certain life. Now I live in North Carolina. And the reason I even wanted to be out here, and there's pros and cons to it. We were talking about this before, G, is there's not going to be the same diversification for Tessa and Lena. That upsets me. I grew up in a very diverse area. Even though we grew up in a nice area, there was a lot of diversity. I grew up with every type of racial experience and person and families and good and bad and everything in between. And I want the girls to be able to have that. And that's why we want to send them to schools and daycares and preschools and things where they can have that, and trying to not, I don't know, man, shelter. I don't want to have them be sheltered just to quote unquote protect them, but also I want to set them up for success. So I wonder, my long-winded question here is, Corley, I wonder what did your child, where did you grow up versus where your kids are growing up and being raised right now, and how might that be different? Now, I grew up in Oklahoma and I live in Florida now. Yeah, so dude, I don't know a lot about.
I feel that would be night and day, but I don't want to assume.
Yeah, but I just know a lot of people from Florida, and from going to Florida, I feel Florida is a crazy place. In Florida in general,
you're probably thinking Miami. You're thinking
I feel anywhere in Florida. I feel I've seen people from northern Florida, and yes, it's very much Miami, Orlando, stuff like that. But I feel throughout Florida, because of the heat, and there's just, I don't know, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, Corley, but from my experience, whenever I watch crazy things happening in the news, they're from Florida. Or there's some crazy stuff popping off in Florida, but so again, and times are different. There's a lot of variables at play, and I appreciate you sharing all this.
I wanted just the chat. I want to catch up on it a little bit.
Get the chat. All
right, guys, here we go. I'm going to read your comments now. I'm starting off with Pineapple. That was 6 minutes ago. Do you think the way you felt during pregnancy is somewhat the personality your child has today? I don't know. She's only 18 months, so I don't know how much of her personality it would shine through. But she seems happy-go-lucky. She throws a tantrum all the time. I don't know. I was very anxious during pregnancy, and I was not happy. I was miserable. But I don't think it shines through, if that's what you mean a little bit. I have Jeanette goes, I have a mouth like a sailor. I try not to use that in front of my kids, but it's pretty much a lost cause. Again, I don't say you should just go F in front of your kid, but if it cursed in front of your kid, I think having the conversation young, because I saw the video on it, Mr. Chaz, the guy that I talk about. Actually, I think I have.
Yeah. He's on TikTok, right?
Yeah, he's on TikTok, and he's had the conversation that he's a preschool teacher, and he had kid who was getting frustrated with something, and the kid said shit. And he goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Chaz. It slipped. I was getting frustrated. I didn't mean to say it." So right then and there, and Mr. Chaz goes, "That's okay. You know when you're supposed to use it. That's not a problem. Thank you for apologizing." He could tell the kid wasn't just being a what does it say, rebel and whatever. He
rebellion.
Knew. Yeah. So I think there's a difference with that. I have all boys, so thank God I don't have to worry about that. I teach my boys the other side of respecting women. Yes, we were talking about the crop tops before. I was just a boy's mom until 5 years ago, LOL. No matter what they watch on TV, what they're listening to, what they want to wear, it shouldn't matter at 12. It shouldn't matter at 12 years old. What matters the most is how they respect themselves and others. I agree. Of course, I'm not saying let them do whatever they want at 12 years old. That's not what I'm saying. I think everything should be a conversation. And this is just me. I could be, again, looking at this perfect fantasy of parentinghood, because I think growing up, it was a lot of, you need to do this because I said so. We had an episode about that, because I say so. Right. I don't want that to be the dynamic of my parenting. I want it to be a conversation. I'm going to explain to you why I'm telling no, and I wanted you to tell me how you're feeling. And if it's something I'm really adamant about, and this is my decision as a parent to tell you no, I'm sorry, I'm going to stick with it, but I'm going to explain myself, not just because I said no, or
because
anything
I said so.
Yeah. No matter how much you hide from your kids these nowadays and age to protect them, they somehow will find a way that to go to find their parents and trying. I get what you're trying to say. Yeah, no matter what you do, they're gonna find it, and I think it's better to educate than hide. That's just my.
Yeah,
Have to always be open for them. Hey, I'm in Florida now. They're all New York transplants, Mike.
yeah. A lot of people are moving south. Honestly, dude, I've had 12 different people I graduated with in high school move to North Carolina.
What?
I've had 12 different people I graduated with in high school have separately like moved to North Carolina over the last like 5 years.
That's funny, actually, that all of them did. And we had the last one from Pineapple. Try, LOL, try watch her as she grows up. I am not sure if this is true, but I watch the charismatic of my kids, and sometimes I feel like that's how I was when I was pregnant to them. Okay, I'll keep an eye out for that.
So there's definitely some science to like. So here's the interesting thing: if you are constantly in a stressful environment, so it's epigenetics is one of the variables. Like, so for example, like. Let's say our genetics are not to be like super lean, right? Like we don't have the best genetics as far as being like, like lean individuals. We can get strong, we can gain muscle, but we tend to hold fat as well. Now, when I had Lena and Tessa, I'm still active now. Like I'm a healthy person. So like my genetic expression, my epigenetics was different. So they actually have a better version of those genes than if I were to like where I was 20 years ago, when I was just like 240 pounds, 230 pounds, like unhealthy, not taking care of my body. And that's one of the components. You can actually change some of the components and genetic variables that are passed down. But the other side of it is, when you're exposed to stress, for example, or like any dynamic of what throughout your pregnancy can have an influence on your child's brain chemistry. Like that's a very interesting component is whatever, because like they're sharing your body. You're like, you know what I mean? You're sharing the same body. So like they have their own brain that's developing, but like it's influenced from your hormones, from your brain activity, from the stress, the input. So if they're constantly exposed, like in New York, they're going to be less scared of loud noises and stuff. Like they're going to be more adept at dealing with loud noises, hustle and bustle people, just from being in that environment, especially during pregnancy. Now, if you were smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, living a stressful, crazy life, like your kids are not going to be born the same way and in the same brain position and brain chemistry than if you were like the way you did it, where you're like trying to do everything as healthy as possible and set them up for success and like deal with all those variables.
Pineapple goes, no, I agree. Because now that I'm thinking about it, and I'll touch on in a second, with one daughter, I kept asking myself, why does she always grumble about everything? And I know during my pregnancy with her, I constantly would argue with my brother and his girlfriend. So I'm going to touch on that in 1 second. Then Jeanette said, in the late 80s, early 90s, they used to promote retiring to Florida in New York, like timeshares, and a lot of people moved down here. I could see that. That's 100% true. You know how people I know who got houses in Florida and retired down there? But to embellish on what Pineapple said is that now that I'm thinking about it, like I complained about everything probably when I was pregnant. I was in pain with this, I was in that, and I would throw not tantrums, but like, oh my God, woe is me. So now like my daughter throws in the most dramatic tantrums when she doesn't get food or what she wants. And goes, oh, please, and does this whole please thing now. So it's like I kind of see it and I know what you're saying. So she does this like whole like, and I try not to say she's being dramatic because I read that's like not a good thing to like call them dramatic.
Right, and discredit their feelings.
Yeah, so I'm like, again, in my head, I'm like, stop being, you're so dramatic. Because and now what she does is she takes herself to a safe space. Like she knows where she's not going to get hurt. And she'll be like,
flops.
And she like stomps her feet to because we have a kitchen floor mat by the sink where we stay on in order to like do the dishes. She'll go over there and then put herself on the floor and then go, start like throwing herself so she knows she's safe and doesn't hurt. But that's how we know the difference between like a real tantrum and like her just being dramatic is that she literally walks herself over to her floor mat, plops herself down in slow motion and like does the whole wailing thing and like this when she knows she's safe and can't hurt herself because she's done it before on the tile and she realized she hurt herself on it and she stops doing it on the tile now. So
that's how you learn. And that's a perfect example. Imagine if you like didn't give her the opportunity to have that experience. That's how we grow and evolve and change. But It's hard though, dude. Like, cause like even now bouncing back to Coralie, she was saying, I was like asking how many kids do you have? She has 4 kids. The oldest is 16, then 12, then 1, then a month old.
Yeah.
And I always like, that's one thing I appreciate about, at least even though I'm older, like, and even out of all of us, like I'm the oldest, right? Like, so like, I always felt like responsible for you guys throughout our life. Like, even though like I didn't really do that, like, unfortunately, with even like your brother, I probably wasn't always the best role model. As I tried to be as much as I could, but I was
do not for a second try to say what he I'm trying not to say his name.
yeah, that's what it is.
Not that anyone's gonna know who he is. What my brother did growing up, as you be an example for that. Michael, you were one of the hardest working people, from whether it's working out. Look at your lifestyle as fitness compared to what happened there. Absolutely not. Did you have an inkling impression on that child's life? Otherwise, he would have turned out completely different. Let's just put it that way. But that's just to say.
But I think to that point, that's just how the brain kind of works, right? Like even feeling that, and then I look at my brother too. Like I look at him, and like I'm like, if you look at him on paper, right? Like he's a lawyer. You know, he graduated college and did all. He's got his doctorates. Because that's the cool thing about when you're a lawyer nowadays, you actually get a doctorate to be a lawyer. It's a judicial doctorate. It's a JD. So he's a doctor technically. He has his doctorates in law, like judicial, whatever. And the point of me saying all that is like, all that, but I still feel like there's this, and it's all honestly, to be very transparent with you, like, and everyone listen, like he'll remind me of like things. Like I remember the first time I caught him smoking weed, he was like whatever 12. I ratted him. I told my family, because I was like, I didn't smoke at the time. I thought it was like a bad thing, a gateway drug. So the point of it, even go to where this was coming from with Coralie, like, so you can have the oldest sibling. Because I asked him like, hey, does the oldest sibling like talk to the 12-year-old about what's going on here and share? Like I would try and share with my brother about certain things, but I remember the dude. The first time I got a girlfriend, he got upset. He was, in hindsight, I realized like he probably felt a layer of like abandonment that he'll never understand or acknowledge because of my dad, and that I was like the man of the house at a very young age, and like now I have a girlfriend and I'm like doing these other things. Or when I went to college, I ended up moving in with my girlfriend and like left him with my mom after Umi and Upi died. Like there was a lot of chaos with that. Like I think there's a lot of components to like having siblings is basically my point, and having them be an example, and whether it's good or bad, but trying to learn from it. And then also realizing at the end of the day, like what, like you said, like what can we control? What can we focus on? But I don't know, man, there's so much stuff. It's so heavy. I don't even know where to go at this point.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure in the end, it all kind of ties in together. But Pineapple went,
Gina's done.
She makes her, she said that with my youngest, I was thinking I'm going to sing karaoke and play piano and see if the baby will love singing in the piano. She makes her own songs now, loves singing, and not like an average child who just pounds on the piano. She actually wants to play. Gina, go get pregnant and try this experiment. I'm like, no, sir, I'm done.
Yeah,
You're a one and done family.
Rosalinda knows. She's like, yep, Gina's done.
Yeah, Rosalinda knows, because Rosalinda's been on my show been watching my show since like I first started. She's probably one of the like first 5 people who started watching me. So it's been a year now, and she's probably heard every story, things I can't even probably remember for myself. She probably remembers. So yeah, I've said numerous times that I am donezo. It is finito, done. Nope. There's moments where I'm like, oh, Josh, maybe we should. And he's the one who's like, absolutely, positively not. I'm 40. You're 31. Do you remember what it's like to sleepless nights? Because neither of us handle no. Actually, he handles no sleep pretty well. I'm like you, Mike.
I don't. Yeah, I do not do well.
Handle no sleep well. I had the rage. I had the anxiety, the depression, everything in terms full circle. Nope, I wouldn't do that again. If I could, we've talked about fostering or adopting possibly, like that, possibly. You know,
yeah, me and Ashley have talked about that.
Very expensive.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I feel like I like, because like I've seen, and this is from like 2012 to maybe 2015. I saw the statistics, like each child throughout their lifetime is going to be like $1 million cost from 0 to 18, not even including like after 18, and not including like all the other components. You know, I forget if it factored in for college expenses and whatnot, but like from just to say like, all right, this child's going to like so I'm going to spend at least $2 million over the next like 20 years on both my kids. Like that's a guarantee. Like I can tell you that right off the jump. My goal before, and I told when me and Ashley, before we had kids, I was like, I wanted to have that liquid cash before we had our kids. And then I realized, I was like, dude, that's not realistic. Where we were at that moment in our lives and careers, even right now, like we're not there yet, but like, making our way, dude. Like I'm telling, did I tell you this, by the way? Like we're gonna have a crazy party when we get $1 million of net worth. Like we're gonna throw down, dude. Not throw down like crazy, but like I want to celebrate because to me that's like a big milestone. I know it sounds silly.
You could fly me down to North Carolina. How about that?
Dude, yeah. Well, like, dude, especially for that. And again, like, there's this like miss, or I don't know. I used to think like, what $1 million of net worth, like to me, or how I would define it is not meaning like I don't have just $1 million cash laying around. It's like out of all my assets, like the houses we own, the business, whatever, all those things, you add that up to what they're worth. You minus all the expenses like the mortgage and bills or things that are due, and then once that's all leveled out, having $1 million net at the end of it. That's like what we're looking to celebrate for. And like, anyways, I don't know where I'm going with this, but the point of like kids are expensive and the dynamics and having more kids, like there's a lot of stuff to just factor for, man. And that's like what can get so stressful if you plan for it too much. Like my mother-in-law, Rose, she's such a cool, calming influence. That's something was so helpful. Like I'm glad that obviously I met Ashley and that we got married and have kids and stuff because like her family is such a massive impact because her mom's a social worker. Like she's basically a therapist. You know, that's the easiest way I can describe it. So imagine if like you had a therapist on call 24/7 that was your mom or like your like mother-in-law that could like be there, like whatever. Like we lived next door to them too for like years, 3 years or 4 years almost, like literally right next. You saw where the house was.
Yeah,
and like
that was awesome.
yeah, and like I could not imagine living next door to, like, no offense mom or dad, like, but I could not imagine living next door to you guys. Like I gotta be honest, like that would be miserable.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And in the chat, Pineapple goes, I want to have number 7, but no, I don't think. But yeah, the props that you have 6, I condone you, or should I say, like I look up to you? Should I say, like, or praise you? Because I could never. I couldn't do it. I know me mentally. I know me, and I think about. And that's another thing I really think about too, is that I think about where I am mentally now and how easily, even just this week, I had a mental breakdown. Like, again, was anything like drastic came from it, but I had a little bit of a meltdown. I was feeling like crap. I was hysterical. And that's off of me working right now and with 1 kid. Imagine 6 of those. I'm saying those as if like those things. No, imagine me with 6 kids and dealing with my business, financial problems, anything like that. I'd be like, oh my God. Like, I know people can do it. I know people figure it out. I can be honest. I don't think I have the willpower for 6 kids. And then Pineapple said, I hemorrhaged during childbirth. I did too. They told me I would have to have a C-section. If I had more than 1 kid, like my next kid, it would have to be a C-section. So that's one of the reasons I'm like, no. And then Rosalinda goes, Gina, that's one reason why it's easy peasy with me caring for 6 kids, because my mom was a foster parent at the age of me being 5 years old and had been watching and caring for kids since age 7 or 8 years old. Okay, so that makes sense. And I'm not saying I don't have those motherly instincts. Obviously, I have motherly instincts, but there's people who grew up with big families, so you understand that
and
dynamic.
The bandwidth. I feel like it's the bandwidth too.
That's the good word for it. The bandwidth. You have the bandwidth and the patience. The patience for that. That is not just given to you. That is earned, and that needs to be there. If you don't have the patience, because I lose patience very easily, and I've noticed it with Logan. I told my husband, like, I need a moment. Like, I've caught myself, like, oh my God, stop, like yelling at her once when she was first born, and like I didn't know how to handle it, and I like almost cried because I yelled. Like, I didn't yell, but I was like, "Argh!" Like even towards her, and I felt like a piece of doo-doo. Like I said, I commend every single one of you who have more than 1 kid. Like even just 2, like even Mike having 2, like it's a lot. Like I couldn't imagine doing it 6 times.
Dude, or even like, so Coralie saying on this side, she loved giving birth. She also loved being pregnant, which I think is a very, like, kudos to you, homie. You're a superstar. Like, that's great. I'm curious,
what did you love about it? What was it?
Yeah, that's maybe a good question.
Why did you love it, and what made it lovable for you, should I say? For me, I was hot. I was overweight. I couldn't walk. I had a cane. I couldn't breathe. I gained like 30 pounds. It was so hard on my body, and the anxiety of knowing whether my child could die at any moment inside me, and I wouldn't know when, I wouldn't know how. I literally I wouldn't go to sleep until I felt her kick. So
You'd
tell
be
me,
like, all right, she's alive.
yeah. So like I'd lay and purposely poke her and wake her. So I could be complaining that I'm so tired and I need sleep. And she finally stopped kicking inside me. But then I'm about to go to sleep. I'm like, she hasn't kicked in like an hour. I need to wake this biatch up. And I started poking my belly to make sure she kicked back. I'm like, okay, I can sleep now. And I go to sleep. So like the anxiety for me of being pregnant and waddling my butt everywhere. And I had really bad swollen ankles. I had cankles, swollen feet. It hurt. Everything hurt. I will say one of the best things is though being pregnant, and I probably say one of the pluses is that you could wear tight clothing and your belly showing is okay. Two,
it's a good perspective or point.
I mean, and two, your sex drive goes up, or for at least in me, it did.
Yeah.
I mean, tremendously to the point where my husband's like, "You need to calm the f down." And they
Hey,
said
easy, chief. Relax over here. No,
exactly. I think it's this. They said it's because of the hormones, and that's happened. That's like typical during pregnancy.
I got gypped, dude. I got gypped. I mean, not that she wasn't, but like, here's the counterproductive part. She was so nauseous.
Don't get me wrong. Once I hit where my belly was so huge, I was scared. I was squishing her. I scared you couldn't find a comfortable position. But
it was weird.
I think the first and second trimester was when I was like, the sex drive went through the roof. Wait, guys, you said you were gypped because why do you feel like you were gypped? What happened?
Just because like Ashley was nauseous for both pregnancies almost like right away. Right. So like she spent, especially with Lena, she was way more nauseous. So like even if she was in and she like you could see there was obviously a difference there. It's just like, puking mid, it's just not it's not conducive for like feeling attractive. And like honestly, I'm a guy, so I think guys in general, we don't care. Like I do not care about like you could not have showered for like 5 days, like you could have just puked. I did not care. Like whatever, I love you. Like me and her got married. Like, dude, like when we were in Thailand, like I got food poisoning to the point where like I was on the toilet and I puked. So the way the toilets in Asia, from my experience, in Southeast Asia and Thailand specifically, like there's no like separation of like bathroom, shower, toilet. It's like toilet and then right there in the like stall is the shower. So like I was like, everything's coming out of me from every orifice, and I puke on the floor, and I'm like, dude, I feel like I'm dying. I might have to go to the hospital. And she cleaned up my puke. Like that's like how like. So I'm like, dude, I don't care about anything. Like you could be puking, and I'll still do this. We just like you lean over, and I got this. But anyways, Corley, yeah, I was like, dude, I don't need to see. You could be in the toilet. I got the backside. We're good. But Corley said, so to your point, Gina, or to your question, she was like, with my first, I was a teen, but I loved because knowing I'm going to see my kid, I looked on the bright side. LOL, I loved it. I mean, kudos to you for being able to remind yourself that, especially through what I was imagining probably not the most comfortable positions and dynamics and situations, and like going back to that component. But that's,
I think also a big thing that ruined my pregnancy for me was COVID. I didn't get the baby shower I wanted. I didn't get the big party. Well, not that I needed the big party.
Dude, the stress.
And it was so new. COVID was so new. When I got pregnant, it was just when the pandemic first hit. I was like 3 months pregnant when the pandemic, and we were stripped in the house. I couldn't go out. I couldn't wear
Tiger King. No, I'm just kidding.
What? You said Tiger King?
Tiger King was popping off. Like that's craziness.
But think about it. Like I looked forward to being pregnant. I know this is where I'm mentally screwed up because of like I guess you could say body stuff and imaging and stuff like that. Sure. I wanted to wear the tight clothing and have my belly pop out and not have to worry about it. I could literally put on anything and
just rock it
and be like, I'm pregnant. I could wear this. I could wear a crop top, my belly showing a little bit because with the big bulge, and it's okay. I could wear a tight maxi dress and my belly show and still look great because who's going to say something to a pregnant lady? You know what I mean? Like it's weird because like your confidence goes up and down at the same time when you're pregnant because you're like, oh my God, I look like a bag of crap, but I could wear these tight clothing at the same time. It's really weird and mind effing at the same time. And that's just something personally with me. But I didn't get to go out. I didn't get to be cute. I didn't get to go anywhere. I didn't get to dress up and show off my pregnant belly. I think that's more what I was looking forward to. And I feel like that was really taken from me. We had a drive-by baby shower. It was cute. It was really hot out. I was sweating and all I wanted to do was float in the pool. And I think so. Yeah, I think it was just also I was miserable because of the swollen feet. You know, I got lucky. I didn't have too much nausea in the beginning. I had a little bit in the beginning for like a couple weeks, and that was it, like for a week or two. And then we'll say, oh my God, the nausea. Sometimes I get flashbacks when I hear certain songs, and I still get nauseous. Oh, that's the worst. Whenever you ever have that one
Like
alcohol,
a smell.
yeah, you ever have that
Yeah.
one alcohol that you smell and it just brings a really bad night flashback, and you go,
Dude, mine's Bacardi. Bacardi,
Yeah.
man. Brings me back to a Thanksgiving Eve where I definitely had alcohol poisoning and I got left by a party. We took a party bus and a limo too. Do you remember it was the White House for a period of time, and then or the White House was maybe what it got rebranded to, but it was like the Canoe Place Inn or something, CPI or something like that before that. It was like not in the Hamptons. It was like out east somewhere though.
I think the White House sounds familiar though, but like,
yeah. It was, dude. We took a party bus and a limo. So we took one party bus, and then we had like 60 people with us. So we took a party bus and a limo. We went there. I was already like almost blackout drunk by the time we got there. I was already puking. Like, and I'm like, dude, just leave me on the limo. Like my other buddy Danny, you know Danny Jay. You would remember him if you saw him. Him and his girlfriend were like, all right, his girlfriend's like, dude, Danny's going to stay in the limo. He's tanked as well. We went way too hard. I was like, dude, leave me with Danny. We'll hang in the limo. When you guys are done, we'll be here. No, you paid for this ticket. We're going in. I puked all over my ticket. I had to buy a new ticket. I puked on the bouncer. By the time I got inside, my friends just like left. They're like, all right, dude, like you're like, I'm not babysitting you. I'm like, I told you, you should have left me inside. I don't remember what happened at this point. The next thing I remember is I'm outside face down on like the grass. And then I'm like freezing. It was like, again, Thanksgiving, it's cold in New York. I had like a button up half done and like jeans on. And I remember I was drunk. I couldn't even speak. And I was trying to text them like, where are you guys? I went to the front. The girls were trying to pick me up and bring me inside that I didn't even know. They're like, oh, come with us. I'm like, I couldn't even communicate with them. I was just trying to sit there. The bouncer thankfully like got me to sit down. A cop came over to make sure I wasn't gonna like die. And then eventually like the bus left without us, the limo left without me, and then eventually my friend, like two of my friends were still there. They threw me in a cab and got me home, and I puked over the cab. I puked all over my friend's shoe. It was just like a horrible experience. It was a long-winded story, but not a fun time.
I had definitely numerous nights where things like that happened where I ended up, you know how many times I was in Manhattan and just jumped in a cab and told them to take me to Long Island?
Oh, dude. And that's an expensive ride.
Yeah, and I just walked in the house and I go, Mom, you need to pay it.
Yeah, like, help me.
So that happened one too many times. And I think Absolute Vanilla or anything vanilla now makes me want to gag because that was the first thing I drank. And I drank the neck of an Absolute bottle. And I just blacked out. And that was it. And my mom had to come get me and pick me up at my friend's house. It was a whole to-do. I hate to run, but it's late. I'm heading to bed. Good night, Gina. Good night, Mike. And
good night, Jeanette.
I meant what I said. Please reach out if you ever need something and need to vent from one mom to another. Of course. Thank you so much, Jeanette. I really, really appreciate it. The fact that you even say that means 100% means so much to me. Oh my God. I don't want to get old.
I'm gonna cry.
I know. Seriously. I can't keep crying on live. But I appreciate you and thank you for joining us and sticking with the entire thing. Guys, thank you so much. And drinking 101, always eat before you drink. Yes, but sometimes that doesn't always work.
Yeah, I mean, you could eat and then like the good thing I will say is that night I remember
you could put up you ate.
Yeah, like I was actually, and this was like a pro move on my part. They also offered me pills to take to mix with it. I didn't even take the pills, and I only imagine like, what if I took like there's like moments in my life where I'm like, if I would have made this one decision, I feel like that's where there's a slippery slope. You take this like, whatever, you take this Xanax or this Ox or whatever, and it like, and you have that experience, and then it becomes a slippery slope of like, well, now you're doing it all the time, and then it can become this very, I don't know. I'm also thinking about it probably too much. Digging into it too much.
I think about it all the time. You know how many moments that I look back on that like it could have gone really bad if I made one choice too many.
Yeah, for me, just this little.
Like, think about all the people that I hung out with, at my friend choice at the time, and all those people that I ended up with in, whether
Different scenarios.
clubs that I ended up in and stuff with whoever, and it would have been really, really bad, but you look back at it, you made it through. It was a learning curve, and it's how now, to me, that's the knowledge I could express on my daughter. Like, I know that sounds messed up, but eventually I want to be like, hey, this is what I went through. Don't be naive to think this can't happen to you.
Exactly.
It can't happen. Please take my words of wisdom. I'm not going to restrain you, but I am going to guide you. And there's going to be certain things I tell you no to, and certain things I tell you yes to. And I need you to understand why. Like, I'm still on the fence about sleepovers. I don't know. Especially I don't know how I feel. I wasn't allowed to have sleepovers, and my parents. The one thing I will say that my parents hanging out with certain friends and being at their house with parents home. Looking back, I understand why. I think the way they went about it, and maybe not explaining it, more just reprimanding about it. I'm hoping if I break it down to Logan and explain her what I've been through and why I'm not letting you do this, that she'll understand. But I could be living in a fantasy world. But again, I don't know. What do you feel about sleepovers? I guess this will be the last topic, and I think we'll go.
Yeah, and I'm starting to let the energy starting to drop now. But I think that's something I think about. Like, so here's the thing, especially I don't know why I don't think when I was thinking, I didn't know if we were gonna have a boy or a girl. I was like, especially if it was gonna be a girl, I'm more protective over them from like a traumatic experience. Not that it can't happen to boys and like whatever. So, but I think my concern is like having her go to someone's house and like something happening because I'm not like so many variables, right? So like I want her to be able to have sleepovers, but so I think the kind of checklist me and Ashley have talked about in the past is like, do we know their family? And not only do we know their family, but like, have we been in their house? Have we seen their kids? Like, how well do we know them? Because dude, that's the thing. I forget what the statistic is, but it's like 70 to 90%, somewhere in that range of like sexual abuse or trauma that happens to a kid happens to someone they know, like not like a stranger on the street or something. It's like they go to a sleepover and like and it's not even like maybe you trust that family, but then maybe they have an uncle staying over that week or something like that, but there's somebody else in the house that we didn't know about, or like just some weird situation, or I don't, you know what I mean? Like I definitely want them to have sleepovers, and like I even don't know how I feel about having like girls sleeping over to our house at a young age, because like that also not creeps me out, but like it's a liability. Dude, I don't know. I'm very torn. Like I want them to have that. I want them to have safe environments, and that's also why
if my daughter could sleep over your house, like that.
Right. Yeah, like Lena and Tessa, they could go. Honestly, this is how I would even feel. Like I would even be cool if like we sent them up to. I wouldn't just send them to your house too, but like maybe when they're older and they're like whatever. But like if me or Ashley got up, like they could stay at your house. Like here's the other thing though. Like I'll be super transparent with you. Like I would not let like Lena, like we won't stay at my mom's house. Not that I don't trust her or my brother or anything like that. It's just like their choices and their decisions. Like I don't trust them not to smoke in the house. And I don't mean like vaping.
There's a lot more choices that they can make that that's hindering your decision for that. But even so, you know what scares me too, and obviously it's the things that it goes on for a while too. Sometimes the trauma and all that things you don't find out about it till years on, and then and it could be someone everyone thinks they could trust too.
Exactly.
And that's the thing that sucks. And I'm not saying it's you. For example, like I send the girls Logan to your house and I trust you and something happens. I may not find out 2 years later and I'll be like, what the fuck, Mike? Really? Like it's crazy. And I think one episode I do want to, maybe you should write this out, signs of sexual assault.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to write that one down.
How to look for your child, how to understand, because I'm not going to embellish on it now. And I'm transparent about it. I've been through sexual trauma and sexual assault situations myself. And my mom was going to me earlier, and again, she had no idea either. And this is how crazy it is, because the parents back in the day didn't even have resources about this to look for the signs.
Exactly.
There's a thing about kids, I feel so weird saying this. I don't know if it's even allowed, that like doing things with dolls that rubbing on dolls or doing things with dolls, and they're replicating what happened to them, What happens?
Like, how
with
would
them,
they know that?
Yeah, exactly. Or would like you're doing it and you think it's all just a phase they're going through. Oh, this kid was humping a doll and they think that like, oh, it's funny, it's just a phase they're going through. No, where do you think they learned that from?
Exactly.
You don't just that's not an urge at 3 years old, 4 years
Yep.
old, 5 years old. Maybe you can say like their hormones when they hit puberty or even
Yeah,
like
like 10,
7, 8.
12.
Even maybe
like
like I
that.
would even give the range of 8 to like 12.
8. Okay.
I would say maybe.
Yeah, yeah. I get like because that's the other thing too. Like I've also noticed like this is a weird one, but like if you like I think of like Connie for example, she developed super young, like physically, right? Like so sometimes like you'll develop in certain ways physically because of hormones. So that can also be. I'm not even saying like you know what I'm saying though. Like just like that side of it. Anyways, yeah.
Well, long story short is that when my mom was we were talking about, oh, look at Logan's dancing in the tub or something like that. And she's acting crazy. She's like, oh, I can't wait for the phone call when you tell me Logan starts doing this to dolls. And I'm like, that's now you may try to say it is nice and possible because I didn't want her to that like, that's not normal, right? Like, that wasn't a phase I went through. That was like
that was because of.
How do you think I learned about that? She's like, oh, well, you were doing it when you were a little bit older. I was like, yeah, but I learned that at a certain point. Like I didn't want to make her feel bad or anything like that. And it was just like those, and I probably will have it whether she's watching this or not because I gave her the link to watch it. But I want to give her those tools so she knows what to look for. God forbid with Logan or anything like that. Those are signs that I think like unless you Google it or learn or there's no course on how to look for sexual trauma in children. So those are signs that like I want people to know. They even say like a kid freaking out getting their diaper changed. Like, yes, don't get me wrong, kids, my daughter freaks out and she's not around anyone that, I'm concerned about. She doesn't leave our site. She hasn't never spent overnight, anything like that. But as they get older and if they fucking like literally hysterics, panic attack, changing diapers, supposedly that could be a sign that something's happening at that young of an age, that they don't want them to be touched. But again, again, I don't even know if we're technically allowed to even go that deep on Amazon with this.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, but either way, I think it's something we should educate people on as well. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's why I'm really grateful for Ashley and the bounce that we have there, and like Rose, my mother-in-law, like her mom's like pretty open about like her own experiences with that. Like, 'cause she grew up in, she was adopted. Like, she didn't know, like she had her biological parents, but I don't think she ever knew them, but she grew up, and she also grew up in like a traumatized, childhood with those things, and like being able to understand that and look for that. Like, 'cause that's always something that like, maybe we'll talk about this like off the air, but like even like with our own family, with our own like side of it, like some dynamics of like just weird behavior patterns that like in hindsight I thought that was normal. Like, like, hey, like for example, if I see you, instead of a hug, you just grab me by the junk. Like, hey, how we hanging down here? Like, that's not normal, but like maybe in certain cultures that's normal too. Like, and then the dynamics of that stuff that's like, I don't know, that's weird. In hindsight, like I had to like deal with that in therapy. And like, okay, that explains maybe also where some things with my own body come from and dynamics there.
In a sexual manner, in the sense of like they're doing something sexual to you, but there's a learn of where old school people don't know where the line, where it's funny, where they're trying to make a joke, and it's too much.
And like feeling just comfortable and confident in your body and in your ability to communicate what you do or don't like. And yeah, Tara, that's the other dynamic too, is like, because dude, like I never like, I don't know, I don't think it's like ever done anything to me like that sensitive, but I also realized like it connected and uncomfortable. Like I could there's like a feeling that I have, I don't know if this is going to make sense, but like I can tie it to a memory and an experience that like when I have those two together, it's like an uncomfortable feeling that like I don't like, but then I never connected them in the past, and I'm like, oh, that's where that discomfort comes from. And it's also, you realize like, again, cultures are different, and like when it's happening in front of everybody and you like, it's not behind closed doors, it's different versus when it's, hey, don't tell it. Because that's the other thing too, we tell Lena and Tessa like right off the bat, like, hey, no matter what anyone says, whether it's mommy or daddy or Roro or grandma, grandpa, whomever, you don't keep secrets. No one's going to ever ask you to keep a secret. If anyone ever says don't tell anyone, you immediately tell us. Even if daddy says don't tell mommy, if mommy says don't tell daddy, like you do not keep a secret from us. Like there's no, unless it's like a surprise birthday or like, and even that we didn't even try and get into, but like,
yeah, you obviously embellish it, but yeah, you need to let them know. And I think that's the biggest thing too, is that, I think a lot of people never tell their kids like, oh, secrets are okay, white lies are okay. But like you want to tell them there's more content behind that. You need to tell them more about it. Hold on, Rosalinda was saying something. Oh wow, that's nice to know your mom-in-law was adopted. I was adopted as well. Oh wow. I shared a long piece of my story on Sway TV, another live streamer here on Amazon. It used to be on their podcast as well. That's awesome. And then Rosalinda, I
Yeah,
saw you
wow.
said yes, it's the same parent. Yes, it's the same parent I am to all my 6 kids oldest. Back when I look at it, it's different aspect. Like at when he was in 6th grade and his last 3 months of school, I took him out and placed him into a home schooling only because my children were not all learning. We're all not all learning nothing and all in school. So me being a parent, I had 2 stepkids and be his voice. I think she was referring back to when you were talking about brothers and so forth like that. I see you, Rosalinda. And I'm glad you share that about being adopted as well and being open with us as well about that.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
want to be able to be as transparent with you guys as possible. I think being open about this is not to make anyone uncomfortable. I think like even with the sexual trauma I've been through, that like bringing light, like even I said that like the things signs to look for kids, I want you to be able to know what to look for. You know,
And removing, I'm sorry, I'm into like removing stigma, because I like imagine there's like psychological components of like whether shame or embarrassment or guilt or like, hey, we can't talk about this, or like
don't wait till it's too late. Don't
bingo.
wait till it's too late. You think it can't happen to me? 1 out of every 3 women are sexually
Yep.
have sexual trauma, or
Throughout their
is it
lifetime,
whenever,
or before
five
by
or
the age of like 18 or
is it
some
1 every
crazy number.
1 every 5?
That's a good question, actually. I want to say it's one. I can look it up, but like either way, that's 20 to 33%, or that's like way too high of a number.
So if I can bring some light or education to anything here, and I don't know, again, we'd have to look into the thing to exactly what Amazon allows and doesn't allow. I don't see why they would not allow us to embellish on education to people.
Especially if we have a book that's talking about it, we can maybe highlight like a book that's talking about this, maybe some with an author on or someone like as a professional to speak about it.
But it causes, it happens a lot. It happens at a young age. And it's also, it just needs to be, I think, feel brought in light to and stuff like that. And the more you're open about it. And so love your quote on your hat, Coach. Life of a fighter explains me, love it. Well, that's his whole brand. His whole brand is LOF, Life of a Fighter. That's the name of his company.
Boom. Life of a fighter, lifestyle of fitness. You see what we did with the LOF. Eventually, we're going to get into life of finance. We're going to have life of, you fill in the blank, like life of farming, life of freedom. Like seriously, like that, like that's like the 30-year plan.
Farming. I found it funny that you went to farming out of nowhere. Life of farming.
Yeah, because like that's the thing is like having all these your brand, nice, great pick. Oh well, thank you. Or, like originally, like the whole point of it was like I started as a fighter, and then my parents are accountants, so they just told me to create a company. Like LOL. They told me to just create a company for like tax reasons, and then like I always was blogging. Like my first fight nickname was .com. They called me .com because I was blogging back in 2011, 2012, before like all like YouTube and like social media was popped off the way it did, and I was always like talking about it, and they're like, all right, we're just calling you .com, like, because I was like, hey, go to MikeColo.com, check out my blog, and the whole point of life of a fighter, and I think it's relevant here, is like everyone has a fight. We're all fighting for something, whether it's you're trying to fight to graduate college, or fighting to be the best mom you could possibly be, fighting to just, actually fight, fighting for your fitness goals, fighting for another day. If you're an addict, fighting through that. Like we all can relate to a struggle and a fight, and that's what LOF is all about, is being able to acknowledge that and giving you the tools necessary to win your fight and to set you up for success. But anyways, that's my little like spiel.
Either way, guys, we've been here for 2 whole hours.
Just hold it down.
Yes. So thank you everyone who stayed in the chat, who stayed in here and talked with us. You guys were amazing tonight. You guys were super engaging. This is why we do this, is for you guys. If you can, click that follow button. And don't get me wrong, me and Mike both have products down below, but we don't really speak about them during this podcast episode, but we do highlight them. Everything you see down below is in our offices, or products that we use, from the laptop that I'm using for my podcast, the camera that I'm using, the lights that I'm using, the mic that I'm using, to my unbreakable wine glass. And same for Michael, everything he has in his setup as well. And we just want to, that's an awesome way to put that name to use. Pineapple said. Yes, and it is smart.
Thanks, Pineapple.
Me, I could not think of a company name for the life of me, and my initials are GMC, so I just made GMC Influence since I was an influencer. I could not think of a name smart like LOF or Life of a Fighter. So
Think about Walmart. Do you know where Walmart was their last name? Like, so like when you think of big brands, it doesn't have to be like.
now my last name is Vega, so it's like
I'm just saying, like you know what I mean? Like even like my dad's like MCM Tax Services, like, and that's what I always like laugh at Steven. I'm like, you're not in the company name, right? Mike, Connie, Mark, those MCM, no Steven. No, I'm just kidding. He just wasn't born. That's like when they created the company. But yeah, dude. Oh man, I like this has been a fun. This went by pretty quickly, but I'm starting to feel it. Like I'm definitely gonna go to sleep like right after this and crash.
Well, guys, again, thank you so much for staying here with us. Great stream, great and amazing podcast. Love engaging and talking. Thank you for the talking there, Rosalinda. Giving tips and tricks and advice. During 2008 Little League World Series, my brother was saving people, kept calling Hawaii people pineapple. That's so funny. What about Life of a Party? She goes like, since then I'm like, okay, pineapple goddess from now on. Oh, that's cute.
I like how you empower yourself with that. Yes. That's beautiful.
But yes, guys, thank you so much. I'm sorry for like kind of tuning out at this point. We are exhausted. It is 12 a.m. here in New York. Thank you guys so much for being here with us. Are we going live tomorrow morning, Mike?
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you good? I have it as 11:30. Does that work for you?
Yeah, because I have my business check-in meeting with my team at 10 a.m. So I should be done by 11 and good to go by 11:30. I'll keep you posted. Just running a little bit late, but
sounds like a plan, homie.
Guys, we will be live tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. I'm also going to be doing Anna D's live at 7 p.m. So make sure the Professional Goddess, she's doing a Down Under betting sponsored live. Are we going to go live again tomorrow night at all, or we're not doing it at night? You have jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah, I got jiu-jitsu until like 9 something.
All right, don't worry about it. But we'll be here 11:30 a.m. tomorrow, guys. And
woo.
Thank you, everyone. Oop, okay, Coach, I never got an email back from you, Pineapple said.
Ooh, Pineapple, I'm going to check that. I hope I got the email correct. I'll double check. Let me go through it. I'll be honest with you. I was supposed to catch up on emails Monday, and it's been one of those weeks where I had the master class I'm doing next Wednesday. It took a lot of time to like just get everything set up. So what I'll do is I'm going to get to it by Friday. If you don't hear from me by Friday, let me know in the chat. And worst case, like it's lifeofafighter@gmail.com. If you want to resend that email, I'm sorry though. I don't want you to feel like I'm like blowing you off for anyone. So anyone, if you guys are ever missing an email or anything like that, just shoot me an email. Let me know. Try to stay on top of those things, but sometimes make mistakes. But I got you. Don't you worry, Pineapple. I got you. Thanks for the heads up, though, homie.
There you go. All right. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much. And we will see you tomorrow morning. Bye.
Bye.